We're just
All right.
we're not gonna get fully started. We haven't fully officially started yet, but this is like when we record some of the bonus material for early commerce and also for the people on YouTube. Right. So yeah, just general
Right.
banter. If you're in the chat, you can join in. You can talk to us. It's all good.
There's no one. It's just me watching.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's just you watching. Okay, because I saw one viewer, but that's you
That's
only.
me
That makes sense. That does make.
doing a little navel gazing, as it were.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, there's two now. There's two now. But anyway,
Oh my god.
yeah.
Oh.
No, but anyway, we haven't started yet, and we will get started. So now
Mm-hmm.
it's just the banter part where we have a bit of fun, waiting to bring in the viewers and so on.
Oh yeah. Hey, I've got coffee.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So so yeah, Josh,
Mm.
how's your week been? How's your week been?
I was homesick for 2 days.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah. No, you
I
told
was
me about
like,
that.
it was like, yeah, it was like a sore throat, and then I just got this worse fatigue. Like I couldn't, like I was just like, so tired. I went to work for like an hour on Monday. I was like, fuck it. I left, and then I called in the next day, and then I
Uh
went back on Wednesday. I was doing better. Like I'm a lot better now. I wouldn't have minded an extra day, but I need the money, and after 2 days, you need a doctor's note, and I'm not gonna go to a doctor with cold.
that makes sense. Pretty grim the way they treat sick.
Ah, that's not bad. Like if I was actually like seriously ill, I could get more time off easy.
Yeah, but still, I mean, if you got a cold, you should be able to take a week. Like if we look at a proper society.
Yeah,
Yeah, you because the thing is, you shouldn't really just be there while you're sick. You should have 1 or 2 days where you make sure that you're not carrying the virus because it's not only shown when you got symptoms. So yeah, they're harming themselves too. But anyway, not important. The point
mm-hmm.
point is, yeah, yeah. Also,
Yeah, no.
I did something crazy this week. I had an intense week experience.
Mm-hmm.
I christened my grating
You christened your what? Sorry.
my grating iron.
You mean like a cheese grater?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I bought one.
Grating iron? That
Yeah,
sounds like some sort of medieval torture thing. Like,
no,
what are you
my
calling it a
my
grating
grating
iron?
iron. It's a grating iron. It's an iron that you grate things with. A grating iron. I christened it. I bought it a week
Ugh,
ago. I bought it a week ago. Finally had an opportunity to use it because I needed some shredded carrots for my sandwich. So I
not even
finally
using it for cheese.
look. Cheese is very expensive. Okay, I'm not doing cheese. I'm not wasting cheese on my iron. Right? If I
Oh, oh, just for a little wedge of cheese. Oh, heavenly. Oh, oh. That's you.
no, it's not. That's you.
That's
It's
just, yeah, that's you.
look. It's
Not
far
at
too
all.
it's far too pricey. I can get the same joy and sense of achievement from a carrot. All right?
No, you can't.
Yes.
No.
All right. One moment. Now, I'm going to give it an announce that on Reddit that we're up and going, so people can join.
I.
And yeah, yeah.
All right. Mmm. Mmm. So much cum in my lungs. It's just me watching. I'm your only fan.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm my biggest.
I'm just
I'm a huge
I'm
self
also gonna
advocate.
test the chat. We haven't actually done it yet, so I'm gonna test it, make sure it shows up. But yeah,
Oh, I'll type something. Let me.
I already did. I already just typed test.
I'll be like, yeah. There, see?
Okay, yeah. Well,
The
anyway,
fuck? Why do you get a sword? I want a sword.
it's because you're not a moderator on the channel.
Oh, well, can they just give me a sword? Because I don't actually want the responsibility.
No, just either you're a moderator or nothing. And I realized that I kind of, in spite of everything, I do kind of need to have the. Oh, good, it's working. But in spite of everything, I
Yeah,
do
it
kind
is.
of need to have the channel open because in case there are like scalawags about like alt right people writing racist things or whatever. I need to be able to
Mm,
remove them so that they
mm,
don't disrupt our fun. So yeah,
man,
but I'm
let me tell you.
gonna close all infringing tabs here. Really
Yeah,
assure good content quality.
but
So
man, I've been playing that Rising Storm Vietnam too. Oh God,
yes, well, that's good.
it's yeah,
Uh,
but like so many racist people on Steam. It's just insane.
oh right, yeah, you told me about that. Oh dear heavens.
Especially in a game about the Vietnam War. Oh, Lord in heaven. There's so
Yeah,
many fucking nuts people on there. Man, you can't report them. You can't argue with them. You can't do anything about it. And
you
it's
know
like, I
what?
just want to come here and play my game.
You know
This
what?
doesn't need to be
You know what Maury
what?
started doing whenever he encounters racists in some of the games, or well, some of the games they play. You know what they've started
What's
doing?
that? What?
They start to just take out a firearm and just team kill them.
I don't want to do that.
You don't?
No, because then I'll get like I might get kicked from my server, and like the servers fill up. That the good servers fill up really fast, and it
Oh,
takes like a while to get back into them if you leave.
understandable.
Or I don't
Well,
want to get banned.
Maury in a
Like you know.
case, our brave Bread Squad hero, is willing to take that chance to deal with the fascist horde. So yeah,
Well, I
hats
mean, it
hats
doesn't
off to
really
Maury.
accomplish anything. That and I get a spawn penalty, and really, it just hurts the whole team. So it also hurts everybody else who just is trying to
Okay,
enjoy the game.
maybe maybe your game's a bad example for that, but in some games it works.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sure, maybe in some games,
yeah,
but like I'm not gonna be shit because like the thing is 90% of people aren't being like that, so I'm not gonna be shitty and mess everyone else's experience up.
I get that. I get
Just
that.
yeah, like if I could go and just specifically fuck them up, then that's fine. But I can't, and I can't really. Well, I mean, like most of the all right guys join the U.S. team. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
that makes sense.
So yeah, they like to be on there. They're like, they say the G word. I'm not gonna say it because I don't like it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's a worse one that you taught me, which what was it, the Zipperhead?
oh,
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, I don't. That's awful. Please
yeah.
don't
No, that's fucked.
say that.
That one's way
Don't say that.
way more. Well, look, if I said the C word, no one would know what I meant. So that's why I kind of
Yeah,
had to
the
say it.
Z word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the G word doesn't make any sense when they use it in Vietnam because originally it's a slur for Korean people
Oh yeah.
because it
Well,
derives from what they call Korea or whatever. I can't.
well, the thing is that I'm guessing they don't care because the whole point of it is just to justify like genocide. That's like as long as it does
Mm,
that, it's handy. And then I doubt some Korean academic shows up in the middle of the war and just goes, actually, that's contextually false.
yeah,
Just no, I don't think that
yeah,
happens.
it is.
Yeah.
Just yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Also, worth noting that both Josh and I are for a fact together with like in relationships with Asians, so we're not being racist or anything.
Yep, I
Yeah,
am
I mean that's a shitty
going out with a
excuse.
Canton.
You can still be
Yeah.
racist, but
Oh
we're
yeah.
probably not. We're probably not.
Yeah. I'm going out with a Cantonese man,
Yeah, and I with
and you're going out with a
yeah, she's a bit of
Mandarin.
everything. She's a bit of everything, but mainly Taiwanese and
Oh,
Mongolian.
bad mix.
Well, no, the reason why is because she's from the royal family, so it traces back to Mongolia.
Mongolian makes up for a lot of it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, but she's a direct descendant from Genghis Khan, not just like direct descendant. Like not just an illegitimate, one of his
yeah.
thousands of illegitimate children. Like from the
But like
actual household family.
bougie Taiwanese children of Taiwanese immigrants. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I
God
get that.
save me from them. They're just
Yeah, yeah.
annoying.
I mean that's true about all bougie people. To
Yeah, true.
be
I
fair.
guess yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
Actually, Haruki,
like
she's more into archery. That seems to be her preference. Also, on that note, we're actually going to get started now, and as a new feature, we actually have an intro. So we're going to play the intro now, and we're going to start the show properly. But I'll see you soon, everyone. Basically, it goes the intro.
By mere Mr. Shane, please let me explain. By mere Mr. Shane means that you're grand. By mere Mr. Shane, again I'll explain. It means you're the fairest in the land. I could say Bella, Bella, even say Wunderbar. Each language only helps me tell you how grand you are. Okay, so that was the intro. Now since we're transitioning it live, it's not the easiest thing in the world to get 100% right. Like if
mm-hmm.
you were to edit it, but
That was awesome.
you liked it. All right, brilliant.
Yeah, that was cool as hell, man.
All
That
right,
was
well,
a surprise.
yeah, no, that's why I couldn't talk to you for 1.5 hours. I was finishing it up actually. I did the last part on pretty short notice, so I'm happy it turned out okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Did you like what I did with Sterner there? I think you'd like that.
Yeah, I saw him dancing with himself. I was like, that's it. You
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah, I was pretty pleased with that. And then
Oh yeah, rock and roll.
Lennon being all drunk as well. So that was a nice addition.
Mm. Sex pervert. Not you, him. Don't worry. All right.
Okay, cool. But yeah, no, we have an intro now. I'd say we're a proper production, so that's pretty sweet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so just running a few things by. Our first article is a little short, So if we end up being a little under time, I've got like a few other very, very, very short articles that we can just round it out with, just in case.
All right, cool.
And
But
what else?
I think also we could just do a bit of banter. We can talk to people. You know, it seems like we've got a few viewers now, so it can be fun to have a little bit more extra time of audience interaction as well.
It should be fine. It's just a bit shorter than usual. It should be. And what else? Oh yes. We'll do some concurrent announcements on the Bread Squad Discord channel, and maybe we can convince Red to do something on Twitter. But I'd like to announce the fake news sweepstakes for all of our listeners.
All right, yeah. No,
if you, as a listener, are interested in writing a fake news story for me to read to Vince without him knowing that it's fake, then feel free to send a submission to me. It has to be at minimum 400 words, and the grand prize winner gets $20. I will transfer it to you on PayPal.
That's
at least it's not that much.
No, 400 words. That's almost nothing. I'll just be able to tell them by the length.
I'm just saying, at least like bare minimum. Like I've seen really short snippets of news articles.
I write 400 words in like 2 minutes. That's nothing.
I'm just keeping this open. I'm like saying like minimum 400.
Okay. Fine,
and
look, everyone, if you want a chance to win that cash, I suggest you go a bit above 400, because otherwise I'll be able to tell immediately.
Yeah. So sorry. So 400 words minimum. Grand prize is $20. I can send it to you on PayPal, or if you have something on Steam or Good Old Games or anything like that, you have your eye on for about $20, maybe a little more. I will get that for you too. If you win, I'll choose it. I want it to be convincing. I don't want Vince to be able to guess. I want to keep him on his toes. So
hang on, Josh.
this will.
We should make the prize for someone who actually convinces me, someone who actually fools me. It shouldn't just be whomever you choose. It should have to go through the test.
I wanna pick it, because I'm not gonna let you know when this is over until it's like over, until I've read it to you and it's done.
Oh, I thought this was like okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So everyone keep that in.
Okay.
Sorry?
No, I thought it was going to be like an open thing, so that any article that passes, but then I realized you're not exactly made of money. So yeah, I
only want this going to me. If you don't have me on Discord, feel free to go through Red. I guess Red would be fine. Just let him know what the context is.
Yeah,
just don't let Vince know.
Well, that's the
thing.
If
you let Vince know,
if they send it to me as a document, I obviously won't read the document. I'll honor the contest and just pass it on to you. But yeah, if you send me the text, just copy paste it at PM. Then I might read it, because
you're disqualified. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you send it as a document to me, if you link me to like a download page or whatever that I feel I can trust, then just send it as a regular Word or TXT document. I won't read it. I'll just send it to Josh. I'll just send the link to Josh. I won't click.
That should be fine. Yeah. And this will be ongoing until I choose a winner. So there's no time limit. If you feel like you really want that $20, then get it in sooner. And I know that's not a lot of money right now, but it's what I'm willing to front. And I just what's that?
A fucking writing commission where you got a 400 word minimum with like $20. That's nothing. That's $1 for that. Wait, $1 for every 20 words. That's nothing. That's like the best commission ever.
Yeah. So minimum. Yeah. So that's the game. Let me know what you think. Vince will make some announcements over there. He can provide some more information. And with that, we're going to take off on this podcast here. I see we got a few listeners right now. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone.
So in case you're new, in case you're new, what we do here is I read Vince 2 news articles that are fairly recent, within a week or two. He does not know the title, who it's written by, or what it's about before I read it to him. Complete surprise. We read it, we talk about it, and that's about it. We're going to have some fun here. So, yeah. All right. Anything else you'd like to say, Vince? Are you ready to go?
I have nothing to say. I feel like you covered it quite well.
Okay. So we're gonna start our first article. All right. You have to forgive me. I'm a bit sick, but here we go. Donald Trump is a contemporary master of a little-used literary device, the narcissistic third person.
Oh,
On the
is this the New
indictment
York
of
Times post?
Paul. Oh, you've read this?
I haven't. You're lucky I haven't, but I've heard people talk about it. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we'll keep going then.
Yeah.
On the indictment of Paul Manafort, quote, there's not even a mention of Trump in there, unquote. On the possibility of Russian interference in the 2016 election, quote, perhaps Trump just ran a great campaign, unquote. Even his very first tweet back in the innocent days of 2009 employed this peculiar mirror-gazing perspective. Quote, be sure to tune in and watch Donald Trump on Late Night with David Letterman, unquote. Like so much else that Mr. Trump favors, red baseball hats, caps lock. Ooh, very edgy, New York Times. Referring to oneself in the third person has, these past few years, come to seem tainted, almost pathological. It has entered the cultural lexicon, suitable only for the toweringly grandiose, brackets LeBron,
Well,
or the
see,
deeply immature. What?
that's not true because Julius Caesar did it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would say things like Caesar thinks this might be a good idea, or Caesar doesn't quite appreciate it, or Caesar would like some mayonnaise on the side. That's how he talks.
Mm,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah, it says.
I'm pretty sure the Romans had mayonnaise. Once they figured out night vision, they could do anything.
Oh goddamn! You know, put some eggs in some fucking oil and whip it up. Put it on a nice sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want some mayo right now. Or the deeply immature, and the example is Elmo.
Also,
so like how Elmo
hang on.
says, like Elmo love you.
We need to declare.
Yeah.
We also need to declare that we are not in any way, shape, or form sponsored by mayonnaise. Please go.
Oh, I'm sponsored by mayonnaise. I'm in the
You're
pocket of Hellman's.
Oh, okay.
Donald Trump leaves the toilet seat up, hammers the enter key smugly. Yeah, that's the liberal feeling like, no, he's a dirty little man.
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm a dirty little man too.
Liberals are just so amazing too, because the thing is that Trump is just ripe for like political criticism. There's just so much. There's no way to get started. And it's like, police brutality, election fraud, just investment fraud, his entire like sketchy career in real estate, his
so many good
segregation, things. All that shit.
Yeah.
The fact that he openly encouraged police brutality in one of his speeches, all that kind of stuff. But no, he uses the caps lock key a bit too much. That's the thing they go for.
He's very rude.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He's rude. He lacks Twitter etiquette. All that other shit, that's fine. That's fine. You wanna kill like 100 people with police violence? Go right ahead. But have some Twitter etiquette. Yeah, no.
Yeah, number one thing is he lacks he's not professional enough.
Oh god.
Like, so I don't feel like he has good office etiquette. I don't feel like I'm talking to someone at my my nice white collar job.
Well, that's the thing. He has like what these people don't get is that this guy's a fucking CEO. Generally, they can do whatever they want in the office. There's just nothing. They have no consequences.
Like, they want a boss man that they can suck up to.
Yeah, but he's
like,
he's not even a boss man. He delegates being a boss to other people.
But like they can't suck up to him because he's beneath me.
I mean, he's like Hitler pissing in a champagne bucket. That's who he is. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not the guy who does that. He's not the officer. He's not the general. He's the guy above that. That's who he is. He can do whatever he wants. He's the emperor, right? That's how it works. He's not supposed to be professional. That's for That's for his subjects to be. You know.
Hey,
Because
that's what they like. That's what they jerk off to, man.
yeah,
Like they love that fucking West
yeah.
Wing bullshit. They love that, like
West Wing.
that. Yeah, they love that. Just that stupid fucking.
And what I like about the West Wing is that to this day it claims to be apolitical. Like they try to keep it vague which side.
No,
Like it's just
no.
no one's buying it.
See,
Although one thing I
that's
liked,
that's the thing.
one
If
show
you feel like,
oh sorry, go on.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh well, okay.
No.
Well no, it's just one that I really liked was that other one what was it called it's about an ex-president who I think is based on Nixon, and he just sort
Mm-hmm.
of has a turnaround and turns his life around, and he does all these things that he's never experienced and stuff. And I kind of like that one. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I agree with all of its political views and stuff like that, but it's an entertaining show to watch. And it's just he
Yeah.
gives sanctuary to like all the thousands of illegal immigrants in his big estate because he owns like just acres and acres of land, and he starts smoking pot, and his wife tries to run for senator, and of course he's a complete disaster when it comes to that. I don't know. I like the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty right wing at times, but I don't know. It's entertaining to me. I thought that one was pretty good. It's human in some way.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is the thing is about being apolitical or thinking it's apolitical is like if you are part of that like that dominant
Yeah, no, it's
field
the
of
status quo.
thought or the dominant if you're in the dominant faction,
Yeah,
then for all intents and purposes, you are apolitical. You are in the center
yeah.
because you're just the most
You don't want to change
publicly
anything.
accepted and supported
Yeah, you don't want to change
thought
anything.
process.
It's like like you got homophobes to say they're neutral on gay marriage, and that just means that they're fine with straight marriage. Because to provide like gay
Yeah.
marriage to make that happen, you would have to be for it. You would have to be somehow active in implementing such a thing. So the people who are against it could just say
Mm-hmm.
that they're apolitical. They have no opinion on it.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
why people like Martin Luther King and so on often said that the silent majority and the sort of neutral, peaceful liberals. Now let's see what Addy has to say. We've been neglecting the chat, Mike. The neoliberals
Yeah.
are so far up their ass that the most biting criticism they have is the warlord is clumsy. That's yeah, that's true.
Hey, he's a big bumblebutt, and they don't like a
No,
bumblebutt.
I remember I was actually talking to a guy about that back during the days when I was a bit more of a vocal IRA supporter. These days I've
Yeah.
taken more of a neutral stance. I see it as kind of nuanced. But back in those days, I quite heavily supported them because I just started learning about them. And it was this Brit who
Uh-huh.
basically told me so I was arguing with this Brit, and he said like oh well, the IRA, they're sort of violent and they're killing people and they're bombing things. And I said, well, how is that any different from the British military? They do those things too. And he said, well, yeah, but they break it, they break the law, and they have no real sort of they don't really have a judiciary system for it. And I just explained, well, the British soldiers, they have a great deal of immunity as well due to their martial authority, and in effect you see the same thing. We sort of kept doing this over and over again, just breaking down all these things that they said IRA
Well,
was
yeah.
different from the Brits, and then it turns out the Brits had them, right? And eventually it got to the point where the guy just said, yeah, well, you know what? The IRA wears masks, and you don't have to do that if you're innocent. And then, like that was the big
Yeah.
thing. They wore balaclava, so they must be bad.
It's just well, that's the thing. Like you don't see because they're just agents of the dominant faction in
Yeah.
society. But the thing is, you don't see like to them that authority that they act with is almost like divine in a way because it's everywhere. It's everything. It's like when you look out and because they're acting on behalf of the country, and that's everything you look around you is sitting on this thought or concept of the country that you live in. So they're acting on behalf of that. They're doing so within like some sort of right, but really, I mean, if you look at it realistically, like what they're doing is just the same as blowing up a building full of people like ISIS might do. They do the same thing with a plane when they bomb bomb an apartment complex or whatever.
No, that's the thing. Like the big criticism there seems to be the delivery system.
It was but it's just like it's
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know.
absolutely.
It's just the way the way the state is ingrained in our minds. I don't know.
No, it's
It's
totally
kind
true. It's the
it's a
same thing.
tribal thing, I guess.
When a police officer kicks down the door, that's not destruction of property. That's just them doing their job.
Yeah.
But when a rioter breaks a window for a bank, that's an atrocity.
Hey, man, that rider's doing his job or
Yeah,
her.
exactly. So, yeah,
And I mean, if those riders did not do their jobs, the cops wouldn't have a job. Uh,
yeah,
okay. And hey, you know what? People's talking all about this, like smashing the window shit, like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah," but like, God, those guys, the guys who like replace windows, they got to be like, thank you. Like they're like
yeah.
jumping up and down as they
Job
watch the
creators.
news.
Yeah,
They are. Hey, yeah, they're creating more jobs than these
yeah.
CEOs.
And the thing is that if
They're
you create jobs, anything's justified. That's a fact. You create
oh
jobs,
Jesus mercy.
anything's justified. So yeah,
It's
go
like,
ahead.
hey, hey
Because the
man, we got all these organs and corpses all across downtown. Can you come clean this up? Then you're an organ cleaner.
yeah,
That's what you do.
yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to explore why it's there, but that's your job.
Yeah, I mean, we're not saying go out and dismember people. We're not going to go that far.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you to do it.
You're just going to insinuate.
I'm just going to say, if there's like a guy here and his organs end up outside of him, I'll look the other way. Anyway, let's continue.
All right.
When the writers of a drama wish to signal that someone is soon to die of tuberculosis, they give her cough blood they have her cough blood into a handkerchief. When they wish to signal that someone suffers from a terminal case of self-regard, they have him refer to himself in the third person.
Oh God, that was the shittiest
Yeah,
simile ever.
that was a little rough. Which accounts for the sheepishness I feel when I tell you about my recent discovery. Whew, okay. That referring to yourself in the third person is, well, kind of wonderful. Lately, I've been walking around with an inner monologue that runs something like this. And the writer's name is Ben. Ben is feeling tired. Ben is considering blowing off the gym. Ben is feeling regret about eating that entire baguette while walking home from the grocery store. Ew, that's so much bread. Ugh, anyone would feel regret from that. You're not even going to have dinner. Like, what are you, a Frenchman?
Actually, if you
I mean,
no, there's a trick to it.
what?
If you hollow out the baguette first and just fill it up with tasty stuff, that could be a good dinner. Actually, be a
Mm,
good evening meal.
like cheese.
Yeah.
No, he just ate a big fucking like stick of bread the length of your arm.
What a fucking weirdo.
That's what he's doing. And I'm French too, so like that sounds like just a delicious treat to me. But like still,
Yeah, to normal people.
on your way
I mean,
home.
To be fair, this is the anarchist crowd. You know, we literally wrote the book on bread, so maybe to these people
Oh,
it's a snack too. But yeah,
I don't think they want bread for dinner. Like
most
nobody wants bread for dinner.
for most people, it's just it's just a great
What?
way to enjoy the many like culinary benefits of constipation. Just drying,
Oh
soaking
my.
up all the liquid in your digestive system and plummeting it down.
True.
Yep.
I guess if he goes
Although,
home and like chugs a
I
bottle
mean,
of water.
I grew up in Spain, so in many ways I am a Spaniard as far as understanding the culture, customs. And one thing I really liked was when you got some bread, you got because they eat the same baguettes, they just call it pan instead. It's the same baguettes, and
Uh-huh.
they dip them in this garlic sauce called garlic mayo called aioli. I don't know if you how
Oh
popular
yeah,
it is
aioli,
outside of
yeah.
Europe, but yeah, and you
Oh,
just eat that
aioli
shit.
is
Yeah.
huge.
Oh yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I don't know how big it is outside of Europe, but I know it's big in Europe. But
Massive.
okay, yeah,
It's like a culinary thing.
yeah. Well, it came from Spain. It started in Spain, and you get a baguette. You break it into little pieces. You dip it in aioli, and you just eat that. And it's a wonderful snack. I love it. And Spain has a lot of
Yeah.
simplistic snacks like that, like patatas bravas, which is basically just It's just a slightly spicy ketchupy kind of sauce and potato wedges, and you just dip them, and that's it. Just dip and eat.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
the
alright with
secret
that.
to a lot of Spanish snacks.
I mean, honestly, I could sit down and eat a whole loaf of bread. Like a nice loaf of bread. I could just sit there and eat it.
I can eat the bread too, but I need something with it, like a condiment.
No, I can have it just by itself. Like there's some like deep cultural memory in my DNA that just says like, yes,
Well,
eat that. Oh,
if it's
thing of bread.
if it's good quality bread, I'm the same way. But it would have to be like proper, freshly baked bread. It can't just be the sort of cheap bottom shelf supermarket,
Oh,
like the
yeah,
white
no,
processed bread. You know, the gooey.
no wonder squish. No
Okay,
wonder
okay,
squish.
because that's bread to me because of the class I live in. That's bread to me, right?
Well, that's bread to me too.
Yeah.
But
No, but like
I mean, I'm talking. That's not. That's
proper
like.
like.
That's not eating bread. That's sandwich bread. That's bread for like the means to an end.
All right, no, fair enough. No, if we're talking like proper Greek bread, like some kind of great rural country bread baked in a stone oven or whatever, then yeah, like real bread, absolutely.
Mmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Bread. Yeah. Everyone's talking about bread. Bread at dinner. Bread. Yeah.
Welcome to
I'm not talking
anarchism.
about bread. I'm not talking about bread with your dinner. I mean like a whole
Yeah.
baguette. You just sit down and you eat that entire baguette by itself, and you sit there feeling like just a massive, disgusting animal because you just
Yeah, because a lot
like
of animals bake bread and eat
domed
it.
a bread.
It's just that they're
Well,
too.
I mean, like you feel like a rough dude because you just like domed a whole baguette
Yeah.
in like 10 minutes, and it's like, oh,
The theme of the broadcast is not bread. It just it's kind of free form conversation a lot of the time, sort of tied in together with
it,
two articles that Josh. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is it relies heavily on me and Vince's rapport.
It does.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Back on the article. And I've not only found my ego swelling from all over this Benning, reminder, his name's Ben, the guy who wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
I've also found it tamer than ever before, as manageable and mild as a baby panda. What a fuck this guy is.
What the hell does
Much
that
as
mean?
it pains me to admit, I don't know. I guess baby pandas are like little fluff balls, whatever. Much as it pains me to admit, I've come to believe that our egotist in chief may have stumbled onto something profound. Oh my fucking god. Okay, allow me to explain. Now you're about to see why I picked this article. At the core of Buddhism is the concept of non-self.
Oh yeah. Okay, so a little
Okay.
bit of background story for the viewers, a little bit of background flavor. Josh used to be a Buddhist and became completely disillusioned with the concept.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm very familiar with
Yeah,
the
he
kind
is.
of Buddhism that I was involved with, which was the Theravada,
Yeah.
which is the teaching of the elders. It's practiced more so in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia.
Yeah. So he did
It's
the
it's a
proper-
more well, not really. I mean, it's more puritanical, more down to the roots. Like they're more interested in like the original Buddhism as it was taught. But there's more problems with that. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah. No.
So yeah. Sorry,
Point is,
go on.
you didn't do the sort of revised Western thing. You actually read the actual literature
No,
and what
I
Buddhism
did.
is actually represented as by indigenous Buddhists.
By Southeast Asian Buddhism, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe
I
not
and
indigenous, but you know what I mean. Like it's the proper.
yeah, I did read the Pali Canon and things like that, and I am familiar with East Asian variants.
Yeah.
Or
So
sects, I
anyway,
guess you could say.
if Josh
Anyway.
criticizes Buddhism, it's the real thing.
Yes, I do have a pretty good grasp of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if you're Buddhist, that's fine. And if you don't want to, I might say some stuff that upsets you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care.
Although to be fair, if you're a good Buddhist, you shouldn't really care, should you? That shouldn't bother you. Be a bit stoic about it.
Yeah, you should be dispassionate.
Right,
no, that's actually the term we used in Theravada. Anyway,
right.
so At the core of Buddhism is the concept of non-self. He's referring to anatta, which is no. Okay, wow. Can of worms. Basically, it means not self. So it's like a negation. Like everything you look at that you call yourself or your mind, you look at it as not yourself. Like this is not me.
So
this is not.
It's basically the opposite of what you are these days, which is of course influenced by Sterner.
Not really. I mean, this definitely left an impression on me.
Yeah.
But it's such a thing. I mean, like even in Theravada, it's a divisive concept because you have people who say like, well, okay, it's pretty clear. Like it says everything that you can identify within your mind and body is not yourself. Okay. So that means there is no self. And then other people will say, well, everything you can identify within your mind and body is not self. So once you get over yourself, then you're in like, enlightenment, and that's your true whatever. And then there's other forms of Theravada said like, no, enlightenment is just, or nibbana, or nirvana, if you're doing it in Sanskrit instead of Pali, is just nothing. It's just the end of consciousness. Like in the Pali canon, allegedly the Buddha describes consciousness as receiving 300 stabs of a spear a day.
Huh.
So,
okay,
yeah, sometimes it can be like that.
Cheerful people,
but it's a very not a good view on life. And I mean, it got dreamt up in Iron. Yeah, very cynical, and it got dreamt up in Iron Age India. So, put that into perspective.
Slavery, probably lots of war, famine.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that really. This is why this is my more serious article, like I said, even though it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Because I actually have some input on this. But anyway, the idea basically
different cultures.
Sorry, go. Yeah. So I'm going to continue reading it.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead.
The idea basically is that the thing you think of as you, the entity whose well-being occupies your every waking thought, is an illusion. Sort of. This doesn't mean that your body is a hologram. That Uniqlo-clad, I don't know what Uniqlo is. Clad clump. Oh wait, no, that's a clothing brand. Okay. That Uniqlo-clad clump of meat is indisputably there. What non-self refers to, rather, is the thing that you think of as your true self, the little captain who lives somewhere behind your forehead and looks out through your eyes. The thing that says, I hope people like me, or I can't stand another minute on this train. That, Buddhists believe, is what needs to be seen through and rooted out.
No.
Not entirely. Like
it?
He is really oversimplifying it. I don't really want to dig into it, but this is a very like white Western approach to what they see as Buddhism, and also it seems to be slightly more tinged with East Asian variants, which are more popular in the West, because they tend to be less negating than the Southeast Asian one. Because the Southeast Asian one would say like he's talking about like how your body's there and whatever, but he doesn't like the Buddha actually specifically says like your body, that's not you. Your mind, that's not you. Your thoughts are not you. Your words are not you. Like none of that is self. Like none of that is self. So
yeah.
So there's more to it, but this sounds a little more East Asian. Okay, so, and he says that needs to be seen through and rooted out. No, it doesn't, because they don't believe there's anything to root out. So
it's more about that's what I call it, enlightenment. It's more about realization than any kind of sort of active exercise.
Yeah, but I mean, in my opinion, it's just total made up bullshit. But anyway, but I can look at it with a scholarly point of view, and I am a little sympathetic to it, but I don't believe it in any way. Like I don't accept this. I don't believe it's true.
All right.
Anyway, this teaching, Buddhists insist, has the potential to eliminate your suffering entirely. They do insist that. They insist that's one of the things. But the end of suffering is typically characterized as nirvana, or nibbana, which actually means kind of translates to blowing out, like blowing out a candle, or extinguishment would be the best possible translation into English.
Like
Which
how has Buddhism not like become more of a suicide cult? Seems like everything is
it
just
well, see, that's where it comes in because they have their reincarnation thing,
oh right.
and in the Theravadan tradition, it's more related. Like karma is more important because karma is seen as cause and effect. It's like a flow of actions, one action leading to another.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and the idea is you're cutting off that flow of karma. Like you stop becoming an agent that is actively creating more karma to push it along. But then Buddha wants to say, oh, there's no self. But then, like, what is this thing going from life to life? And then it gets really, really, really complicated and doesn't make sense.
All right.
But if that's what I think. So yeah, basically it's cause and effect, and you want to cut that off. And I mean, even in the Pali Canon, when you look at it, extinguishment is a pretty good translation, and the idea that it's just an end of consciousness, I feel like it makes the most sense to me that that's what he would have been getting at. But
Okay.
there's lots of
So
conflicting.
Buddhism really is the opposite of all the other religions, and how it promises you eternal life, and your job is to make sure that shit ends because you're not a big fan of it.
Kind of because you're suffering all the time. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one time I read there's this one thing he says, or allegedly, where it's like, think of all the water in all the oceans. You monks have cried more than that in your lifetime. Something approximately like that. Just to put it into perspective.
That is pretty cynical.
Well, and if you're willing to believe that, then it's true. Because I mean, like, even if you think I've lived however many lives, infinitely throughout, since the beginning of time or whatever, since the beginning of existence, then my life is mostly pretty bad, and even animals' lives are mostly pretty bad. And
But that's the thing, I
it's
mean, I've seen some fucked up shit in my life. I've suffered through abuse. I've seen people literally die in front of me when I was like a little kid. I've I've dealt with like heartache and hardship and poverty, and I've lived in a fucking
yeah.
insurrection. I mean, I've gone through a lot of stuff that you would be considering suffering, but all in all, like big picture, I feel like I've had more happiness in my life than this. I feel like, because I got friends and I have a wife, I have
Yeah.
family.
In my opinion, it's just complete overcomplication. It was some kind of personality cult. I mean, the Buddha was the son of a warlord.
Yeah.
In Nepal, he was rich, and then apparently he ran off and became a monk during this huge contemplative period in India. And at the same time, we see the rise of Jainism or Jainism.
Oh yeah, isn't it called Jainism? I thought it was called Jainism.
I've heard Jainism. I've heard a lot of things, but
Oh.
yeah. And that has some inroads to Theravada, but it's a lot different. Anyway, so yeah. So sorry. We'll be talking too much about that, and it's like totally losing the color of the podcast here. Okay. So the teaching, Buddhist insists, has the potential to eliminate your suffering entirely, but is destined to remain so much inert philosophy, no more life-changing than the quadratic equation, until you're actually able to glimpse your little imposter, to fix him in your mental crosshairs, which is where Trumpian third person comes in. What he just said there, that's completely wrong. In every sect, this guy doesn't have any real understanding of the religion.
Really?
Anyway.
You mean, hang on,
Nope.
you're telling me that a journalist from the New York Times may very well be misinformed on events occurring abroad? Is that what you are telling me, Josh? Are you telling me that's the case? That these people do not have ironclad, like just fully established, well-researched worldview about foreigners? The New York Times, really, Josh? Really?
This
really?
man This man has no grasp of the faith. He clearly has had no engagement whatsoever with the culture or understanding how the faith relates to the culture in India and throughout the rest of
See,
Asia.
that's so weird to me because after seeing their coverage of Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan, I'm just thinking these people are the most well-traveled cosmopolitans I have ever laid my eyes upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing I want to say is if you do want to be a Buddhist, that's what you believe, like if you can get the money somehow, go to the country where your dominant whatever dominant sect you are a part of, go to the country, live there, understand the culture, understand the way the people think, because religion, especially that religion, I find is like it's inextricable from the culture and what the people who live it every day believe. Like lots of Westerners, they get like when they engage with Theravada, like, oh, when I read the canon, it seems so like, like, ooh, it's so logical and whatever, even though it's not. But and they're like, oh yeah, it just seems so clear cut and incisive. But then they'll go to Sri Lanka and stuff, and they're like, oh, these people believe all these crazy, stories about like monks being able to fly through the air and read minds and stuff. And in the Pali Canon, it says like you can get supernatural powers like that.
Yeah.
But they're just like, oh no, that's just fluff. Like they'll just write off the things they don't like, and that's, to me, even back then when I was like in my pre-woke period, to me that was just so stupid that you. That's one of the things that kind of turned me on is like you're not willing to fully engage with this religion and this culture. You're just going to accept what you want, and you're just going to take it because you're just some dumb white guy,
Yeah. No, I get it.
That's unfair. So yeah, my opinion is if you're willing to really believe in that, at least study the people, at least understand the history of how it relates to them, understand the cultural context from which it came from to the best of your ability in Iron Age
And
India.
I would also
That's
like
my
to say something that I feel might explain a lot of things pertaining to Buddhism development, which is
Mhm.
that it's not too uncommon to hallucinate when you're malnourished. Just like to point that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just not going to get into that. And I'm going to tell you
Okay.
why, because the Pali Canon, which is the main body of text that all Buddhism is based on, that came from the teachings of the Buddha. Now, the thing is, it was an oral tradition for about 500 years
Oh yeah.
until there was a meeting of the Arahants, or enlightened ones and noble ones. They got together and they said, okay, let's write these down on leaves. And
Oh
those
yeah.
writings got passed around from person to person for
To be fair,
hundreds and hundreds of years. And yeah,
to be
sorry, go
fair,
ahead.
the whole oral tradition thing. Whenever you see that in religion, I feel like that's how you can spot they might not be entirely truthful. Because even in Mormonism, where the oral tradition lasted for roughly 7 hours, you still get some pretty fucking extraordinary results. you know.
Yeah, let me tell you, like, even I mean, a lot of monks who are scholars and stuff want to tell you like these are the teachings of the Buddha, but like it can't be. It's just been too long. You can never get in touch with the historical
Yeah.
Siddhartha Gautama, and like just like you can't get in touch with the historical Jesus Christ. It's not.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Like I don't think
you can get a rough
I don't think I'm
idea.
speaking to.
You can get a
Yeah, I
composite.
don't think I'm speaking. Yeah, yeah. Like maybe some texts, like there's some consistency, a broad consistency across text, but like many, you'll see all these weird things, and you don't know if people are editorializing,
Yeah.
things like that. Like I don't. I mean, these are things I'd say more to someone who believes it, but I don't think I'm talking to anyone like that. But anyway, sorry, we're
And
gonna be talking about this for way too long.
what I would also point out in a way that we see the same thing, of course, with Christianity. And what I think is interesting is that with the oral tradition, if it's done properly, if it's done properly without any sort of real power dynamic at play to like exploit people, like for instance when the Navajo do it or whatever, because they really don't have any reason to lie about history. They're not going to get anything out of that. They're so defeated. It's not history that's going to like turn that around. They're going to need more than that. They have no real reason to lie about it. And when you do it that way,
Yeah,
when you do it that way properly, and you just taught a whole lifetime to do it, That kind of works, interestingly enough, in a way that writings can't. Because if you look at the way the Bible, which was made, I think, 800 years ago in Baghdad, the way it's been carried over
Yeah.
between translations and things like that, you really see how the Chinese whispers come from the written word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And what was I gonna say? I forgot.
Also, one more
Anyway.
thing: when Chinese people whisper, it comes out the exact same way as other people. That's just a saying. Continue.
Okay.
No, I just want
I
to
don't know
clarify.
what that means.
I'm not a racist. I think Chinese people can whisper just as well as anyone else. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so because it turns out that what we refer to when we refer to ourselves in the third person is the very thing that Buddhism believes causes us so much trouble. Oh, sorry, I was reading that wrong. Because it turns out that what we refer to when we refer to ourselves in the third person is the very thing that Buddhists believe causes us so much trouble. Uh, when I say, quote, Ben can't stand the taste of turnips, unquote, what a big baby. Turnips are good. Um, I am forcing myself at
Wait, hold on.
grammatical gunpoint. What?
So this motherfucker just had a whole baguette, and then on top of that, he's decided to just chomp into a raw turnip.
Oh, if it's raw, then I
What is
guess
wrong
I'd
with
say
this guy? What is wrong with this?
I maybe he's like just fresh out of college and he hasn't like learned how to cook yet. I'll, I'll give him the benefit. Yeah, you know that would make more sense because I mean, like some of the shit he's talking, like
Okay,
he's definitely fresh.
fresh out of college,
Yeah.
New York Times job.
It's like I look him up and he's like 60 years old.
Yeah.
That would kind of explain it too. I am forcing myself at grammatical gunpoint to inhabit a perspective outside my usual one. From this new vantage point, my feelings about turnips, not to mention the very thing I'm used to thinking of as myself, appears objects, separate from the one doing the speaking. Um, and this is all just weird mental games you play with yourself, and
Yeah.
if you just ignore that and go into your basic experience, that's all you really need.
Yeah.
This is just it's a waste of mental energy in my opinion. But anyway,
Actually,
which means
there's one thing I would recommend because, as some of you know, I am quite the adept writer, and what I would recommend you do if you want to learn how to write properly and also learn how to write quickly and creatively, is to just narrate your life in the third person. Just say, just write down how would you describe yourself opening the door. Just do that in your mind. How would you describe yourself cooking this dinner? How would you describe yourself doing this and that throughout mundane activities? It
mhm,
really affects your writing. Like I can do that sometimes hours on end, and it's very good. So I would say if
mhm.
you do it for that reason, it can be pretty good.
Okay, so from this new vantage point, my feelings about turnips, not to mention the very thing I'm used to thinking of as myself, appears objects, separate from the one doing the speaking. Which means that I, just by shifting into the speech patterns of a narcissistic lunatic, have stationed myself out in the hard to describe spaciousness where Buddhists say we do well to set up shop. They don't say that, that's wrong. All of which is to say that referring to yourself in the third person, if you do it thoughtfully and probably silently, need not be a step on the path towards celebrity rehab. It can instead be a means of finally realizing a life altering truth. You are not your thoughts, you are not your feeling. Uh, Now that my inner narrator has alternatives to I think and I feel, these seem to be self-help platitudes, but like observable facts. See, no one actually thinks they're their own thoughts, and no one thinks that they are their feelings. And the statements "I think" and "I feel" are not "I am think" and "I am feel."
That's true.
Is a diff-
Yeah, no, thinking and feeling,
He's
that's an
just
experience. That's not who you are. That's what you experience. That's an external.
yeah.
Yeah,
You're saying I think is I verb, so subject is doing thinking.
yeah.
This man I am venturing to say is a tremendous moron.
Yeah, no, I
But
was
anyway,
thinking I was thinking about that when I just listened to the stuff, like just listen to him go on, and I just think, oh my god, if my name as like author, like written by, if that was my name on top of that article, I would be so ashamed. I would be so
Yeah,
embarrassed.
no.
This is the most
Ooh, no.
poorly researched, pretentious tribe I have. Like, I would expect this from like a WordPress, but the New York Times. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Does this mean that Donald Trump, when he goes on and on about, quote, Donald Trump is demonstrating his enlightenment, that when he refers to himself in the third person, he is expressing not a personality disorder, but an intuitive grasp of the subtlest Buddhist teachings?
But the thing is,
Ben
though,
highly doubts it.
being self-absorbed is not a personality disorder. It's just being self-absorbed. You don't need a diagnosis to be an asshole, right? So that's another thing. I like, because liberals, they really do think that they're super intellectual if they can just apply
They
psychology.
psychologize.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can just
they love
psychologize
psychologizing.
everything about someone. They think that makes them somehow smarter. No, it doesn't. It just makes you pretentious. You're not a doctor. Stop
It
diagnosing
does.
people. Doctors can barely
Yeah.
do it because the scientific understanding of the human mind is so limited. And you think that you're going to go have a crack at it in your fucking New York Times editorial. Piss off. That's awful. He's just, ugh.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's embarrassingly bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this is offensive in the way, but for the most part, it's just completely stupid.
Well,
It's just the dumbest thing I've read in a long time.
Yeah. No, I'd say it's not really like he's individually sort of performing the action of a bigot. It's more like he's exercising sort of collective bigotry based on kind of common assumption culture.
Yeah.
It's that sort of unconscious bigotry.
Just full of no grasp at all. And that's the end of the article. It was a little bit short, but I got to rail on about like the only thing I know anything about.
No, I'd say we filled in an hour, and that's really the article is supposed to do. So that was very good. And now, good ladies, gentlemen, and non-binaries, we are going to have our intermission. I hope you enjoy it. We got a new intermission today, so that'll be fun. See you soon. Okay, everyone. We are back. Sorry, I had to loop that thing for a bit. I was preparing some supper in the form of delicious carrot sandwich. Gonna get Josh back on the line here. Hello, Josh. So we're back now.
Howdy.
Yeah, made myself a quick sandwich. I hope you will all forgive me if I eat it while we're on the while I'm on the air here. It's
No rules here, my bud.
yeah, I've already got them started. So it shouldn't be that.
Also, I wanted to mention if you want to find me on Twitter, my Twitter handle is red_boy_Josh. Some of you might already have me added, but I'll just put it in the chat there so it should pop up on the screen. Just in case. Yeah. That's me. I'm on the Twitter. Yeah.
Cool.
I post sometimes. Okay. So
Second article.
Part 2. This part will be more political. It's a bit longer too, so we'll try not to. Oh, it's quite long. We'll try not to talk too much. Okay. Sorry. Okay. On the way to Richard Spencer's top secret white supremacist conference on November 19th, a young African American woman drove me in her Uber
Hold
from
on.
Washington.
Top secret.
Yes.
Top secret.
Top secret.
So the
Top
president,
secret, baby.
the president is not even allowed to know about it. It's top secret.
The fucking president, he knows nothing.
He's got no clearance.
He does not. This is
Wow.
top secret.
Okay, top secret.
This is eyes only, man.
Okay.
Oh God. All right. So, as I was saying, from Washington D.C. to the rolling hills of Maryland horse country, on the peaceful drive past large, beautiful estates, she told me how she'd had to work 3 jobs as a DHL courier, Amazon warehouse delivery woman, and Uber driver, just to continue to live in the ever more expensive DC, where she'd grown up. When we finally got to the winery that Spencer's National Policy Institute had booked, Mike Enoch of the Daily Shoah podcast, who promulgated the slur "Din do nothings" for African Americans, was holding forth. Yep.
The Daily Shoah, first of all, some leftists don't seem to notice, but Shoah, that's Hebrew for Holocaust. So the name itself,
Holocaust,
extremely anti-Semitic. Also,
horribly.
Also, 99% sure Enoch is actually a Jewish name.
Mike Enoch. Yeah. Maybe.
It is. I know it's biblical and Old Testament, and I know that Jewish people like their sort of Old Testament. Obviously, I mean, it's kind of a big deal to them. So I'm pretty sure it's a Jewish name. So, yeah.
If I were him, I would use a pseudonym for more than one reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm still sick.
Also, I hope no one could hear me chewing on the microphone. I sort of covered it with my hand.
I couldn't. I could not hear you.
Because I really I just made a fist around it. I really did my best to cover it.
So sorry. Mike Enoch of the Daily Shoah podcast, who promulgated the slur "Din do nothings" for African Americans, was holding forth on the horrors of corporate neoliberalism, quote unquote. Also, this is at the conference.
Yeah.
And he's speaking. He's talking about quote unquote corporate neoliberalism. Yes.
Now, the thing about these sort of a lot of these non-leftist ideologies and so on, they like to use an adjective as a differentiator in case they approve of for something they generally approve of, but that they seek to sort of splinter off to criticize, like crony capitalism. So when he says corporate neoliberalism, is he trying to emphasize the fact that there's like a positive aspect to neoliberalism? That's what I want.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get into that.
Yes.
And I'm just gonna like try to keep your comments a little tighter on this one, unless it's very important because this is a long one. But anyway. Then Eli Mosley of the campus group Identity Europa, who calls Jews now.
No,
Now listen,
He went the other way.
no
Didn't
listen,
he? Enoch was
I'm
a
just gonna
Jewish name.
say,
This guy's swinging in the right direction.
yeah, I'm just gonna say, right now, any slurs you hear from now on, I'm going to be reading from the article as it's written, and
Yeah.
most of them are in quotes. I don't like saying these words. Don't misinterpret me.
Yeah, okay. So content
so-
warning, everyone. Gonna be slurs. Okay, let's
Yes,
continue. Yeah,
it's gonna be slurs.
I'll just CW it in the chat so that people who sort of come in can see it in the chat.
Yeah, I take no pleasure in this. Anyway,
Hmm.
so Eli Mosley, he calls Jews, quote, oven dodging kikes, unquote.
Yeah, okay, I can see. We added a content warning. We're
yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Took Enoch one further. Quote, we need to be explicitly anti-capitalist. There's no other way forward for our movement, unquote. So where have we seen this before?
Yeah. The sort of oven dodging part may have been a clue of its own, but yeah.
Appropriating leftist terms
little bit
to get people on board.
Now you see what worries me is that like 100 years from now, the YouTubing neckbeards of the future will quote this motherfucker at this conference saying, and that's why the neo-Nazis are a left-wing movement.
Shoot, they might start doing that now. As 60 mostly young male racists gathered around him, Mosley, whose real name is Elliot Klein. Oh, so that's a pseudonym.
Oh.
Well,
obviously.
Which makes sense. Confidently predicted, quote, 2018 is going to be the year of leftists joining the white nationalist movement. Oh boy.
No.
Maybe liberals.
Maybe
maybe Bernie idiots who are like fucking anti-SJW weirdos.
Yeah, no, it's like Haruki says, it's the Nasbol gang.
Oh, yeah, true. I was looking at the article. So that's not happening. These were clear examples of the alt-right's seductive and highly contradictory new emphasis on economic issues. Fascism is often incorporated a pretense of holding quote-unquote socialist positions, but some members of the alt-right seem to genuinely believe that the racist state they're fighting for will benefit what one recently called, quote, the proletariat, unquote. That same afternoon in
Did they say
the proletariat.
Oh, so they wrote it with a T. It sounded like you said proletariat with an A. I just thought, wow, they really haven't researched this.
I'm sick.
Oh, right. Well, more than usual.
That same afternoon, in an interview in the winery's unheated barn, Spencer said, quote, I support national health care. Becoming alt-right means we have duties to our fellow white people. And I'm kind of trying to talk like him. And the trillions spent in insane wars, I would much rather spend on something that is immediately useful to whites.
Yeah,
unquote.
Like concentration camps.
Yeah. About the concept of a guaranteed minimum income provided by the government, Spencer told me, quote, I actually really like this idea, unquote. In the Whites Only Jews Out, No Votes for Women ethno-state that he is trying to create, Spencer said, quote, we need to have a kind of altruism. We need to be willing to take care of people and not simply think of ourselves as individuals who can acquire as much wealth as possible, unquote. This is an important shift, in my opinion.
What I think is interesting
for the alt-right to be. Well, go ahead.
Whenever liberals talk about socialism, they say that it's grounded in altruism, when in truth, any Marxist would say it's grounded in self-interest. And now they're doing the same thing here. They're using liberal logic here, and I think that's very interesting. Is that they use the same dialogue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When they're reaching for the left, they grab the center. They don't actually grab the left.
Well,
And,
still, like I'm saying, this is an important shift for them to be going through.
Yeah.
Like this has historical precedent, you know. So hold on.
What really worries me is that no Democrat or Republican ever discuss any sort of real economic issues as far as direct
No.
concrete policy making goes. And that means that it is an extremely populist matter. It is very low hanging fruit. And if a leftist talks about it, they'll just say, "Oh, well, you're being a socialist. You've been saying this for years. It's the same old story." And it's like, well, hello, it's what you want to hear, you idiots. But they don't realize that. They don't make that connection. But when a Nazi says it, they think, "Oh, well, hey, this is new. I don't think Hitler talked about this stuff. You guys are a bit different, aren't you? This is yeah, no, I'm gonna, So that's not good. That is not a good thing. That's very dangerous.
This is peak entryism, basically what we're looking at.
Yeah, no, it's we need to fight this.
Yeah. A few minutes later, Spencer's co-panelists told the gathering exactly who, quote, the capitalists and, quote, the corporations were hurting, who were hurting, quote, the people, quote, Jewish interests, Enoch, whose real surname is actually, oh, here we go, Painovich.
Oh, well, this took an interesting turn.
Enunciated deliberately, quote, this cosmopolitan clique of elites, unquote. That's just so basic.
Okay. When you show
fascist
me
appealing to populism.
Hang on. When you show me a sort of white bread, slick-haired, Wall Street stockbroker, I don't think he's gonna have many stories about the time when he met a fascinating clergyman in an opium den in Beijing. I don't think he's that kind of a guy. I would not describe him as a cosmopolitan.
No.
Yeah.
He's like a workaholic.
Yeah, he might describe all the various hookers he's met in Asia, but that's about it. That's as close as he would get to cosmopolitanism. It's just a wide range of of international STDs. That's about it, and the free clinics that follow. That's all the stories he's got about the outside world. And of course, that time, he had sushi with like a Mandarin delegate from who the hell knows where. This guy's not a cosmopolitan. He can barely speak English, let alone 2 languages.
Yeah. He boomed as Spencer giggled. Quote, the left will not name the people behind this, but we can. Oh, okay. So now it's the Jew. This history repeats itself. This is retarded.
Yeah.
I mean, stupid. Whatever. It's silly.
Josh is very
he went on.
Everyone.
Quote, we can speak for white Americans who don't want to sacrifice any more of their children for Jewish wars. Eesh.
Jewish wars. Unbelievable.
Oh dear.
That's so frustratingly ignorant. But I mean, they know that. They know that. But it sounds like everything. Like, because that's the thing. Literally everything is the Jews' fault, and the assumption is that the Jews are so bad, so that if you can't figure out why it's their fault, then it must be their fault anyways through some profound reason you can't figure out because they're just that bad. That's really the logic.
Mm-hmm.
If someone, if it doesn't matter who punches you in the face, if it's a black guy or whatever, because I don't think they're at least not ethnically Jewish, I believe, because Jewish people come from the Mediterranean. Not important. Point is, if he punches you because he's part of Antifa or whatever, or just does it because he's a good citizen, even that guy, it's somehow the Jewish people's fault. They're sort of controlling him. And if he's not being controlled by a Jewish person, if he's controlled by someone else somehow, then a Jewish person is controlling that person, and so on and so forth. To paraphrase,
the Zog.
Yeah, to paraphrase that existential argument, it's Jews all the way down.
Yeah. They're all turtles. So, here we go. Oh yeah, and from now on, I'm gonna be referring to Enoch from the Daily Show as Painovich, just so you know.
All right.
Yes, the U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as Trump's bombing of Syria, had become, quote, Jewish wars to white people in the barn. Some of them veterans.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Bombing of Syria.
To
It's
yeah.
got Americans, it's got Turks, it's got Russians. I'm not feeling the Jewishness
Yeah,
here.
but who's behind all
In
the
fact,
conniving?
it's one of the few Middle Eastern conflicts where the Israelis are not involved, so you can't even tie to them, and they're not even
True.
they're that Jewish. Like they got a lot of Jewish citizens, but as far as like the it's got a secular government, it's got a secular military.
Yep.
These things are not Jewish. The citizens might be, but their government.
Yep.
Yeah.
To Painovich, it seemed that any unnecessary, unjust, or imperialist war had been secretly started by the Jews. Okay. Quote, this rootless, cosmopolitan clique, unquote. Painovich vociferated as Spencer nodded
hey, hang on.
vigor.
Rootless cosmopolitan. That's a phrase. That's actually that is a.
That's
Jew-
the wandering Jew.
That is they used that exact phrase to describe it. I remember because I listened to a lot of klezmer music, sort of Jewish folk music, and they use that phrase to describe sort of the Jewish condition, to try and describe to the world what being Jewish is. So they really that is a dog whistle, I would imagine.
That's a big time one.
Oh yes.
Painovich vociferated as Spencer nodded vigorously and laughed. On Twitter and his podcasts, Painovich frequently exhibits a sadistic streak when he goes after individual women, Jews, and people of color.
Yeah, it's like the
on
Rush
one
Limbaugh
podcast.
racism.
It's kind of like Rush Limbaugh, but more racist.
Well, I mean, Limbaugh, he's more into abusing women than people of color. I mean, he might do that too sometimes, to switch it up a bit, but to break the routine. But this guy's more. He emphasizes the other way. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. On one podcast, he attacked criticisms of rape as, quote, this bullshit fantasy of the media, academic elite. It's been done. It's what happened. Whatever, unquote.
I would love to see him in a courtroom. I would love to see him the accused stands here, charged with the crime of rape and murder, and this guy he's the accused, he just goes, this is just another bullshit fantasy by the media, with your bloody fingerprints and your surveillance tapes. Get out of here, you conspiring Jews. And then he just drops the mic and he leaves, and everyone... That would be amazing. I would pay to see that.
There's no such thing as a rape kit. It's a myth.
Yeah.
But here, in addition to his usual violent bombast, Painovich spoke with what appeared to be a real passion about the enormous misery that George W. Bush's wars had wrought. His voice quaking, the bearded founder of the white nationalist blog, The Right Stuff, said, quote, I'm against these wars, which are not in our interests. Klein, an Army veteran, added, quote, you want to know why there's so much PTSD, drug abuse, suicide among veterans of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars?
I can answer this one. Before you say anything, I can answer this one. It's really easy.
It's
from Skinnerian psychology. It's called a conditionalized response, and it's basically taught soldiers to shoot to kill. It went from 2% to 90% of soldiers who shot to kill. And that's why so many soldiers exhibit psychological problems, because they unconsciously kill people and then have to deal with that choice in retrospect. They don't consciously make the decision. And that's why you get so fucked up from war these days, compared to, say, World War II, where people came home relatively well adjusted. Let's see what he has to say.
Because anyone from experience with mental illness can tell you, or trauma, any kind of trauma, big or small, can tell you that your brain really runs on latency.
Yeah.
So even little things you can be dealing with a long time. I think that's why they were. Psychoanalysis focuses on childhood so much. That kind of makes sense. They're drawing the right line there. Maybe not the perfect line, but the right one.
Yeah, they focus too much on childhood. Like, they figured out it's got something to do with childhood, and then they just roam around there way too much. But
way too.
But what I was gonna say is that when I was assaulted by the police, that was maybe, I don't think,
like it's hard to recollect just how long it was because at the same time it felt like it took an instant and an eternity at the same time. It's really weird,
Hmm.
but it couldn't have been longer than 20 to 30 minutes. But I
Yeah.
still, whenever I hear someone pounding on a door, knocking on a door too hard, I still go into fight or flight mode. And this was ages
Yeah. And
ago.
one thing for me with understanding that, kind of getting past that stuck in the childhood thing, is when my psychotherapist, she told me, like, you know, if you have like a lot of small traumas, those can add up to like a big issue.
Oh yeah,
You know, for for me, that's a lot of what happened with me for my
yeah,
mental
that
problems.
makes
But
sense based on what you've told me before.
yeah. So anyway, so let's hear this guy's answer why. Because they come back and they don't know why. Why were we there? What did I do? Why did my friends die?
No, that's not why.
Unquote. Um,
Well,
the answer is no more of these wars.
the thing is that that's probably true a little bit. You do ask why, but one of the biggest things that I've heard veterans say in interviews and the like when they come back and need to like acclimate, kind of like a convict needs to do if they've served a life sentence or something. One thing that really gets them is
Yeah.
how alienating the civilian world really is because people, oh, I got bad phone signal, it's only 2 bars, and all they think is, well, we're not being shelled at the moment, you should have a smile as wide as the road right now.
Yeah.
That becomes very alienating to them. Oh, this coffee is cold, ugh. It's like, what, are you kidding me? You got coffee, that's amazing, how can you complain? That they have that kind of mentality. I mean, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Poverty. So, but
Hmm.
but yeah, that's a very alienating experience to them.
Well, and then he says the answer is no more of these wars.
Yeah.
Unquote. Then Klein screeched. Klein was the man just talking. Quote, Jewish wars. Unquote. So like, it's just it's an unnecessary add-on to an already completed idea, which turns it into a racist one.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
that's
it tilts it
that's appropriation.
like that's where it goes. Yeah. Um, Next, the white nationalists went after the Trump-backed Republican tax plan. This is surprising. Quote, we need to reduce the taxes on the Apple Corporation that is sitting on $200 billion. Spencer mocked the GOP. So that was in a mocking tone.
All right.
Quote, they just don't have enough money. Unquote. While Spencer blasted the plan as, quote, stupid Reaganite nostalgia.
Actually,
Quote,
it makes
unquote.
sense. It makes sense that they would, because out of all the corporations, they choose a sort of cybernetics firm. And what's interesting about that is, of
Mm-hmm.
course, that's Israel. Israel, they do a lot in the tech industry, so they would attack
Yeah.
the computer industry because they would be willing to sell it down the river. That's a non-white industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um,
So it makes perfect sense.
Painovich talked about how hard it is to live in this culture where, quote, everything, unquote, runs the risk of getting, quote, corporatized and capitalized, unquote. The Upper East Sider said, sounding haunted, quote, everything is empty and fake. One of the great struggles that everyone has in this corporate neoliberal world is for meaning in their life. Our struggle provides that for us. Everything else is empty, but our movement,
Oh God!
unquote.
Now they're appropriating nihilist philosophy. We can't have anything good.
No, they're not. They're not appropriating it. They're this is
Well,
pure
they're
this is
substituting it.
pure
They're substituting it.
this is not this is pure spirituality. This is 100%. That's where it is.
No, but that's
Like,
well, I would argue that nihilism is very spiritual.
I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
No,
my
of
point
course it is.
my point of the fact is the point of the matter is if you're going to be any kind of leftist, you're on in one sense or another a materialist point of view. You want to
Well,
be
yeah,
looking at things as they actually are,
yeah, but I
at
mean, you
least.
can
But
look. If for me to enjoy, a nice cigarette and country music and a sunset, and just feel like that's a beautiful, magical moment in my life and memory I will treasure forever.
I don't have to stop being materialist to enjoy that and feel how that gives me meaning to my life. But at the same time, I would argue that's also very spiritual.
No,
It's not a
you're missing my
religious thing.
point.
Oh, okay.
You're missing my point.
All right, fair enough.
I'm saying that think of it this way: we're on the side of the real facts. They're on the side of a fantasy world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's theology.
and in fantasy worlds, in religion, since we've had a surplus, have always been a means to an end. The Catholic Church wants to appropriate wealth and position, from basically what the working classes were, the peasant classes.
Yeah.
Just like fascism, that's what it wants to do. It wants to preserve a wealthy elite.
Oh my god.
And that's how they're doing it. Do you understand when I say
no? I just
the cause of humanity at large. What?
Something dawned on me now that's absolutely a terrifying thought, because you look at dialectics and you think finally late stage capitalism. Next up is socialism. Gonna be alive, and then you just think maybe there's a gap with like 300 years of fascism in between. Just God, I hope.
Marx never talked about dialectics. That's all Engels. But
well, all right, whatever. I've heard about dialectical materialism and people ascribing that to
same thing.
All right, well,
yeah, he didn't write about it. It wasn't him.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Looking at history to try and predict the future, I mean, it kind of sometimes works. Whatever you want to call it.
Kind of.
Point is, I hope that's not the case. I hope we're. Oh, can you imagine if it was?
Oh yeah, that things don't move in cycles. Yeah.
How hopeless! How utterly hopeless.
Well, let's see if we can beat those ghosts and that spiritualism that has been haunting us since we came about. Although, that's all that right wing is. That the right wing is it can only sustain itself through things that aren't true.
Through abstracts, basically.
Through abstracts, through fantasies, through myths.
Like duty
and then the real
and honor. I mean, they say
yeah.
honor, and then they just go rape an entire continent. But they're still honorable because honor is imaginary. Imaginary. It's just whatever they want them to. That's honor.
Honor and duty don't get hungry. People do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's whose side we're on. We're on the side of real human people with organs and blood, and they're on the side of ghosts.
Yeah.
So anyway, how did it come to this? That three of the most prominent white nationalists in the country were sitting in a freezing barn, attacking what Spencer had once misspelled as bourgeoisie capitalism.
Actually,
and it's misspelled there.
I'm a bit worried about the subplot that's going on in the background. It started out as an unheated barn, then it became a chilly barn. Now it's a freezing barn. I'm wondering what the hell is happening to the weather outside.
Maybe the
it's
maybe
freezing.
the writer is starting. Maybe the writers didn't really dress appropriately because they thought it would be an indoor event. And now they're really starting to feel it at this point in their notes.
No. They say freezing. Okay, so it's below zero temperature. Richard Spencer is starting to build up frost on his suit and on the shoulders. This is like people are breathing fog. No one's really paying attention to this because they're so captivated by the speech.
Like, guys, go inside.
Yeah, no, it's the sneaky Jews outside with their freezing ray trying to ruin their events with their HARP weather control machine. That's what's happening here. They were right all along.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only by some miracle that they didn't all get frozen solid, and then like the FBI found them the next day. Just said, yeah, no, we're not gonna investigate this. Yeah.
This one's this is a shut and closed case of everyone just froze to death. So I'm just gonna take the ones I like back to my house and maybe have dinner with them.
Oh, is this
maybe
a Milwaukee?
Make some ice cream and put their bones in it to keep me company.
Yeah, you might want to provide the viewers with some context. This is a character Josh has.
Everyone who lives in Wisconsin is a serial killer.
Yeah,
and that police officer was someone from Wisconsin, so he wanted to have the bodies because he's a disgusting necrophile.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's just I don't really like the killing. It's just so much better when I can just take them home and jerk off with their frosty intestines. Anyway, all right. La, 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 la. Sorry, I lost my place. Oh yeah. After Heather Heyer was killed by a neo-Nazi who plowed his car into a crowd of protesters in Charlottesville, as I'm sure we all remember,
Yeah.
internet companies finally acted against the racist sites they had merrily hosted for years. Yay! It took you long enough. For
Except
months,
not really.
NPI. Not really, but yeah, for months, NPI, Stormfront, Countercurrents, and others lost their websites, payment mechanisms, or Facebook pages and became unable to communicate openly with the newbies, and that's in the article, they were hoping to attract. Most, including NPI, eventually found new hosting, but their ability to organize had been curtailed. And after the entire country saw the alt-right marching with truncheons and guns and chanting, quote, Jews will not replace us, unquote, even Steve Bannon no longer wanted to be associated with them. And I will admit that was a big PR nightmare. White nationalists.
Haruki just said.
What?
Haruki just said that they preferred you when you were talking about Buddhism. So I'm guessing we're at the
Why is
serial killer
that?
part right now with the latency.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
bones in the ice. So sorry. Or maybe he just doesn't like my analysis, or she, or they, or whatever. White nationalists often speak of deliberately pushing, quote, the Overton window, unquote, the limits of acceptable public discourse, so that it becomes, quote, normal, unquote, and unremarkable to hear racist, anti-Semitic, and misogynistic content. This is true.
Yeah.
This works. This has been going on for decades.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's been working. It works.
Well, what's interesting is that it only works to a point. It's a constant back and forth.
Yes.
When they establish a racist status quo, then once again there is communist revolution, just like in the 70s, just like in the 40s, just like in the 20s, just like in the 1800s, just like in the 1700s. I mean, it's just it's a constant back and forth, and really the only thing that'll break that cycle is when the left wins. That's that's it.
Yeah.
Because they can only be so racist. They still require non-white people. They can't wipe them out and just remove race forever, because that means that they need to do all the menial jobs. They need to vacuum their own kitchen. They're not going to do that. So it's always going to be a back and forth. And as soon as we figure out how to break that causality, we win. But that's why Marx said that communism is historically inevitable, because we will never stop rebelling, and they will constantly rely on us. So sooner or later, it'll just
in a
happen.
sense,
yeah.
At the very least, the struggle is inevitable.
Yeah.
Okay. In the past 3 years, some journalists have abetted them by treating white nationalism as just another, quote, philosophy, unquote, competing in the marketplace of ideas. Spencer, who speaks well, has a graduate degree in, quote, humanities, unquote, and wears expensive clothes, was a perfect exemplar of the efforts to remake the racist movement into something that appeared, quote, reasonable, unquote. But Charlottesville, with neo-Nazis punching and kicking women and African Americans streamed on TV, changed all that. It terrified the country, rightly so.
Yeah.
The federally owned Ronald Reagan Building in D.C., where NPI had held several prior conferences, turned down the group's request to hold the confab there this year, citing the events of August 11 and 12, open bracket, in which Spencer, Painovich, and Klein were major participants, and for which the three men are defendants in federal civil rights lawsuit, accusing them of seeking to terrorize and inciting violence, close bracket.
Yeah.
The Reagan the Reagan Building, which is good for that. That they're getting, going through court. The Reagan Building, which houses private businesses as well as government offices, is managed by an outside firm called Trade Center Management Associates. In a statement, TCMA said that the significant risk of violence and injuries posed to our clients, event attendees, tenants, employees, and the general public.
Can we Can we take a moment to enjoy the irony of how the Reagan building is partially privatized and partially publicly owned?
Yes.
All right, cool. Let's go on.
And the general public would be too great, and the cost of enough security to prevent such violence. They're referring to them having the conference there and the prevention of violence will be prohibitively high to rent to NPI because there's other businesses and people in there, and they don't want to have to fucking rent out a bunch of security in case there's a fucking riot or like all these protesters and shit.
See, that's why Antifa. That's why Antifa works, right?
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
results. That is results. If they don't want to do it, we give them a reason. We give them a fucking reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and even if it isn't, like, even if the building owners are like, you guys are fucking rowdy and you're gonna start all this shit, and that makes sense. Either way, in the wake of Hayer's murder and the more than 35 injuries at Charlottesville, private hotels in the D.C. area had also become loath to host white supremacist groups. Good. Yeah. 2 days after Charlottesville, I just gotta say, it's a goddamn shame that someone had to die for that to be the case. That's a goddamn shame.
Although, I mean, what's really fucked is that between, I think it was 2006 and 2017, actually, I think almost 300 people have been killed by the alt-right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 2 days after Charlottesville, both the Sofitel and the Willard rescinded, I guess those are hotels, rescinded permission they had given Spencer for press conferences at their sites after receiving substantial public criticism. In fact, the white nationalist movement had been so effectively deplatformed and delegitimized and become so frightened of drawing protesters like the ones who turned out to mock Spencer from the audience at the University of Florida that NPI's executive director, Evan McLaren, refused to tell reporters the conference's new location until half an hour after the meetup was scheduled to start on November 19th.
This is wonderful. Anti-fascism works.
Yeah.
Everyone, this is wonderful. Never listen to a liberal again.
Yep, absolutely. When I finally arrived at the organic winery and cow and hog farm in Poolesville, Maryland, an hour outside of DC, I learned that NPI had not even trusted its own attendees with the conference location. Instead of allowing its followers to drive to the winery themselves or even learn its name, NPI made its adherents leave their cars behind and hand in their cell phones so they could not see where they were going and inform others. Instead, NPI monitors drove them in 10-person vans to Rockland's farm, which turned out not to have known that the white supremacists were coming either. Though Spencer claimed there was, quote, no deception, unquote, involved, NPI had hidden its identity from the winery. A third-party logistics firm had approached Rockland's farm on the group's behalf and booked the barn/tasting room for what the firm said was a, quote, corporate, unquote, event, without mentioning the use of Nazi language and gestures at last year's conference, or the fact that the speakers and attendees this year would rail against, quote, big gay, unquote, quote, Hispanic coming in, unquote, and whites who...
how's that New World Order working out for you, Josh?
Oh my god, we got so many fucking... I don't even know. It's a lot. Quote, and whites who, quote, have a non-white girlfriend, unquote. When the farm's owners discovered they were hosting a white power group, they immediately asked NPI to leave. Though Spencer told the media afterward that the cancellation had come halfway through the event. In fact, NPI was far less lucky. Amid the confusion and secrecy of trying to ferry all the registrants out to Poolesville and confiscate their phones, the conference had started 2 hours late. There was only time for one conference session, the panel with Painovich, Klein, and Spencer that I mentioned above, and a socializing break before NPI Executive Director McLaren told everyone the jig was up. Excuse me. And that all the registrants needed to get back in the group's vans expeditiously. The man who was to have delivered the keynote address, Kevin MacDonald, a retired evolutionary psychologist from California State University and perhaps the most prominent anti-Semitic writer in America. Never got to
Prominent.
deliver one of his favorite.
He gained
Yep.
prominence within his field of
That's-
anti-Semitism.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Deliver one of his.
This guy's got a PhD in just pogroms. What? How can you be a prominent
What?
anti-Semitic writer? That's not how it works.
You. I guess all the anti-Semites like his books.
Oh my god! Yeah, he's
They
got
know
the-
his name.
It's got the best rating on Amazon Books. For all the anti-Semites are raving about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The
They
Daily,
love.
the
They
Da-
love all these eye-opening accounts
the Daily
of this
Show.
dog.
The Daily Show gave him 5 triangles.
Yep. I'm gonna give him 5 out of 5 triangles, folks.
Oh god!
Who never got to deliver one of his famous diatribes, calling unarmed black teenager Trayvon Martin a quote thug unquote
Oh my
quote
god!
hoodlum unquote drug dealer and jewelry thief who likely deserved his fate.
Hang on.
Spencer
Is
himself
that
gave.
true? Like a jewelry thief? It feels like every other month, every few months after the shooting, they add a new thing to Trayvon Martin. Like it's jewelry thief. Next thing, it's gonna be drug lord. After that, they're gonna add Al Qaeda fighter. And later,
I mean,
it's just gonna continue.
they're not being that. They're not being that stereotypical. At least they didn't say that he was like stealing their VCR
No,
or
but they're
something.
just making up like random bullshit about it. Feels like.
Yeah, I know. I was
so-
making a joke.
Yeah, soon it's gonna be a German submariner who works for the Kaiser. Then he's gonna be the reason why all the space shuttles blew up. It's never gonna stop. It's gonna be every wasp's nest in like the Midwestern area, just the general Midwestern area. Every wasp's nest, that's him.
Did they ever mention
Yeah.
that's why hot dogs are called hot dogs? Because in World War One they changed the name
What were they called?
because
before
it
that?
had. I think like they called them like wieners or like
Yeah.
they called them like some kind of German name, and they're like, nope, they're hot dogs
Oh.
now.
Oh, Wiener sausages. Is that what you're thinking? Or Vienna sausage.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like freedom fries. Just every single shitty,
Exactly. It's
unhealthy
the same
food.
thing. It's
that no
the
one should be
same
eating.
thing.
Yeah.
Hey, man, like fuck
Yeah.
off. French fries are good.
Like if someone really sort of puts freedom fries on the menu, then you should really go up and say, "Hello, I would like a plate of pommes frites, please," or even just really
Say it in Arabic.
yeah, say it in Arabic, yeah. Just that's the newest one. That's the newest one. They're gonna call them freedom numbers from now on.
And this meat's not halal. It got its throat cut.
Oh god.
I don't even know what they could call that.
No, like that's how
I don't know.
that's how I envision it. Like when it turns out the alt right is just completely correct, and every single Arab in the world is just conspiring against everyone else, and they're gonna invade the U.S. with like a massive brown horde. Then all we're gonna see are like these
Ugh.
big white banners with a round halal sticker on top of it, just supersized, and they're just gonna carry that into battle as they just behead us all.
Oh man,
That's just fact.
fine.
That's just fact.
That's fine. Because look, the fact of the matter is,
And
the
Rick-
real fact is, halal meat tastes a lot better.
Yeah, and the thing is that Richard Spencer, he's gonna stand on the shoreline just completely shirtless with like a random sort of bear claw tear through his across his chest, just open and bleeding, but he doesn't feel it. He doesn't care because much like the U.S. flag, these colors don't. They don't run, but they do bleed, So he's just standing there with a big machine gun, just "I told you so! I told everybody!" And that's basically what's gonna happen. Yeah.
He's so unattractive. Like even disregarding his personality, he just has a weird look about him.
He does. He's awful. Fucking Nutella head.
Okay. Okay, we still got to burn through this. We're like halfway down.
Yeah.
Oh. Excuse me. Spencer himself gave no major speech. Swedish
Oh,
Swedish fascist mega publisher Daniel Freiberg, who'd been announced as a headliner. Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. That's how much of a mega
Well,
fascist he is. That even though I live here, I've never heard of the man.
he's a publisher and he's from Sweden, so you better look out.
Oh, well, yeah. No, if I see him, I'll punch him or something. You know, I'll only get like a 4-second prison sentence. They don't even have a justice system over here, so you know it's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay. Who'd been announced as a headliner along with McDonald and Spencer, couldn't appear because the United States had barred him from the country following Charlottesville. The event was a bust. So I guess national security's got other plans, despite what the alt-right would want them to.
Yeah.
McLaren said the conference would resume, that was in quotes for some reason, at a second location, but it turned out to be a dive bar in Alexandria, Virginia. There was no resumption of the conference, only brewskis. But only half an hour after 40 white nationalists sat down and demanded beer and pizza, the waitress on duty and the owner, also a woman, threw them out. The waitress, a white single mother, said one of the NPI registrants had thrown a dime at her. And another had been like here's your tip, I guess, have a dime.
Oh.
And another had been sexually inappropriate and threatened her.
Well, see, that's
More
just amazing. They don't even have to be Nazis. It's enough that they're just themselves and they get thrown out
they're
of
just
establishments.
jerks. They're just jerks.
That's amazing. And the thing is that
it's a certain type of person.
Yeah. You know, just that's amazing. It really is. And you know,
it really is.
They really are like just the most stereotypical strip club customer the mind can envision. They really are. They're just you imagine.
In my opinion, if you're at a strip club, you should be polite.
Yeah, no, like that, but they're not like women who work at strip clubs.
No.
They just across the parking lot, they keep like a pearl-handled revolver in their purse. That's the kind of people who go there. It's these guys. And it's so sleazy, so they don't even get thrown out unless they do something really bad that's basically illegal. They can be as obnoxious as they want to. There's, you know.
Yeah. More importantly, she had recognized the obscure Identity Europa logo pin many wore on their label, and knew from prior reading exactly what the group stood for. Sorry, one sec. She had no intention of serving Nazis.
Well,
out they all went. Out they all went into the streets. What?
Do we know her name?
Nope.
All right. Well, if you do know if you do know this woman, if you're familiar with her establishment, give her an extra tip. You know, give her a tip your hats. You know, be you know, some hats off to the waitress here, the hero of the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
She had no intention.
If everyone was like her, these fuckers would starve to death in the streets. So, you know, live by her example. Don't serve Nazis.
Good. Nice lady.
Especially if you're a neurosurgeon. Just leave the tumor alone. Let it do its work.
Yeah, let it go. That's nature, right?
Yeah. You know, they can pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
Yeah, they can. Yeah. They got those straps. They're going to pull them. She had no intention of serving Nazis. Out they all went into the streets of Alexandria, the gentrified, nearly lily white DC adjunct, where NPI rents its offices above an expensive chocolate shop called Blueprint Chocolatiers. And it's like blue without an E and with a U with an umlaut.
Oh, blue? I don't think that's a word.
Blueprint.
That's the most hipstery thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Umlaut.
So when one.
So you mean Blauprint? Actually, I do think that is the German for blue, if I'm not mistaken. Still hipstery.
No, it's not. It's not spelt the same way as Blau.
Oh, okay.
So went one actual encounter between the NPI attendees and a member of the white working class. But in the long run, this country may not be so lucky. Okay. Now, this is going to be some more of the meat and cheese of the art.
All right.
The desire to embrace, quote, anti-capitalism, unquote, to reach out to the left is not a new thing for the white supremacist movement. Check. We know this.
Yeah.
A disparate group of white nationalists, from the late Pat Buchanan advisor and slavery apologist Sam Francis to Greg Johnson of the intellectual racist journal Countercurrents. There's nothing intellectual about being racist. I'd just like to cut.
Yeah,
I'd just like to cut in. If you're a racist, you're not intellectual.
I would
you are
also
not.
like to. I would also like to cut in as a post-structuralist and say there is nothing intellectual about being intellectual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, you're not. You can't be an intelligent, thinking, clever person if you think,
Yeah, and
race
also, again, I would
is,
like to point out that you can't be an intelligent, thinking, clever person if you think that there's a distinction between other people and intelligent, thinking persons. Again, post-structuralism. Tell your friends.
Yeah. So.
Hello there, Red. Red's in here. Just say Red. Yeah, Red's here. So,
oh,
Red.
welcome, Red.
Yeah, our good
This
friend
is
Red.
this is going a bit long.
Actually, it's not.
But
we still.
Oh, really? It feels like it is.
No. We usually run 2 hours. Currently, it's been 2 hours and 50 minutes. So, yeah, depends on how we do these next 10 minutes. Could be also
Okay. Red, while you're here, I'm doing a bit of a sweepstakes thing.
Yeah.
I'll be sponsoring the prize from it. If people send you any written entries on Discord, just be a pal and forward them over to me. I just thought I'd give them you as a contact point. Oh yeah, thanks. Well, I don't know if you caught the whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, Vince, do you still have actually no, we'll get into that after. All right, so the desire to embrace anti-capitalism and reach out to the left is not a new thing for the white supremacist movement. A disparate group of white nationalists from the late Pat Buchanan advisor, blah, 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 read that, to Greg Johnson of the intellectual racist journal Countercurrents, to, quote, big hefty quote, pan-anarchist, unquote, Keith Preston of Attack the System, have been...
What the fuck's a pan-anarchist?
I don't know. Maybe it's like a pan pizza.
No, that made my brain wrinkle. A pan-anarchist, well, like one of the most sectarian groups in the world, and there's just this one guy who floats above them all and gets along with everyone. The primitivists, the trans-feminists, just a pan-anarchist comes in and reconciles that whole thing. The transhumanists, he just goes to them and says, you know what? Maybe you can have your quantum computers with a bit of rock and some string. Maybe that's possible, my friends. I'm the pan-anarchist.
Hey, yeah.
I resolve this
shit.
They go to
the real deciding factor is the racism. That's what elevates him.
They go to the mutualists and they go to the communists and they say, look, why don't we just invent communist capitalism? Why don't we just invent a market system without markets? Why don't we just do that, my friends? Why don't we make that a thing? No, there's no
instead of.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
It's appropriation. They're appropriating us to get people who think they might be left wing. We know this scheme.
The thing is that this terminology was invented by the jerk off who wrote this article. It's just on zero research.
No, that was in quotes. That's what he calls himself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
If someone sees this guy, I'm not telling you to hit him with a brick, but the only reason why I'm not telling you that is because I'm legally not allowed to tell you that. You can interpret that in any way you like.
But if you do end up hitting him with the brick, or if a brick just falls down off the shelf and happens to hit him, just give me a call and maybe I'll take him home and use him as a sleeping bag, maybe.
Oh God.
Anyway. So, have been bashing capitalism and attempting to recruit the left for many years. Most chillingly, quote, anti-capitalism, unquote, is one of the main points of agreement of the Nationalist Front, a coalition of roughly 10 American neo-Nazi groups organized in 2016 by Matthew Heimbach of the Traditionalist Worker Party, an anti-gay, anti-Semitic group linked to street violence.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, as political science Joseph Lones wrote in an important recent piece in the magazine Conturen, the contemporary alt-right was seeded in crucial ways by the formerly progressive critical theory journal Telos. The publication's new... Sorry?
Telos, is that Greek by any chance?
I believe it's Greek. Isn't it like for knowledge or
Well,
something
no,
like
what I
that?
think is interesting is that you see a lot of similarities between alt-right and the Golden Dawn. It's like they've almost read the blueprint for Golden Dawn and they're just making their own version of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, true. The publication's neo-Marxist founder Paul Picconi was so arrested by the
Neo-Marxist,
so
everyone.
arrested. That's probably what he refers to himself. Just saying.
Well, he shouldn't.
Okay.
You're either a Marxist or you're not. End of story.
Yeah.
Neo-Marxist. Shove my neo
well,
foot up his neo ass. How does that sound like? You neo bastard.
Paul Picconi was so arrested by the idea of traditional forms of quote authenticity unquote that he would that could combat capitalism that he eagerly published racists like Francis, quote godfather of the alt-right, and Spencer mentor Paul Gottfried. Hold on. And most importantly, Alain de Benoist, the French anti-egalitarian philosopher,
Benoist,
who has provided Benoist, whatever, who cares? Stupid French people. Who has provided the intellectual backing for the Europe's sounds weird, anti-immigrant identitarian movement, and after being translated into...
That's such a mouthful. Just say Nazi scum. It rolls off the tongue, for God's sakes.
Yeah, it's easier.
Oh, neo-Marxist, pan-anarchist, habla identitarian. What? Fuck off. You're all Nazis. You should all die. It's simple. Well, not the neo-Marxists.
Easy.
Well, kind of.
Whatever.
Well,
I mean, he's not helping.
I realize that we are being published, so I shouldn't say that people ought to die. That's not very good if I want to stay out of prison. I don't mean this. I'm just kidding around. I'm just kidding around. Let's
give him a good slap on the wrist.
And plus, it's not like I need to tell people to go kill these guys. They're working on that well themselves with like everything they write. They're really conveying that emotion. So I'm just saying I'm kidding around. I do not.
They're already really like
anything. If whatever you do, it's your own responsibility. Don't look at me. It's just,
they're doing the social equivalent of strapping landmines to their feet as shoes. So
that's Although that would work.
Yeah.
That would work because a lot of landmines are pressure activated, so it's not until you lift your foot that they go off.
Well,
I mean, you can wear them as shoes. You just can't walk. I mean, which kind of
they really just gotta stand their ground.
Yeah.
So for the American alt-right, still NPI itself has never focused on economic matters, and until recently, neither did Painovich or Klein. That they chose to spend so much time at the conference's only panel talking about neoliberalism, quote unquote, and how, according to Painovich, quote, we have to push a right-wing workers' movement, unquote, can partly be attributed to desperation. Yes. Yeah. Klein suggested that the reason for the new focus was that, quote, we've almost literally drained the market of libertarians, unquote, who have been the main source of new members. No big fucking surprise.
Yeah. No.
To find new customers, he suggested white nationalists now needed to look left. As he helpfully noted at the other two, quote, leftists are natural activists. That's going to be a huge resource we can really tap into, unquote. White nationalism's desperation comes not just from the activist public shaming and deplatforming after Charlottesville, but also new levels of infighting in a movement that was already famous for it. Shortly after the conference, Klein was forced to step down as head of the racist campus group Identity Europa, and some alleged this was because of his closeness with Spencer, the organization's new leader.
What I would like to point out is that I'm so looking forward to them trying to approach communists and just getting to know firsthand what sectarianism looks like. Just good luck, guys. Good luck finding your own little camp. You find a Nat Bowls, they say, come on in, we set a table for you. Sit down, enjoy yourselves. And then 1,000 people gather outside your home,
all of them armed with torches, ready to kill you before killing each other. Yeah, good luck, guys. Good luck. You're gonna enjoy this. This is gonna be a good move. You thought the libertarians were difficult? Just wait. Just wait, my friends. You haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah.
The organization's new leader, Patrick Casey, said on an alt-right TV show that the change was made because the membership decided that, quote, what happened in Charlottesville, how disastrous it turned out, really can't happen again, unquote. Among other things, he said, quote, we shouldn't be having rallies where people come and wave swastikas around, unquote. Also said, Casey, 3, quote, very serious lawsuits, unquote, against IE itself and in Europa, Klein, and the group's founder, Nathan D'Amico, following Charlottesville were a strong motivation to change. Still, desperation was hardly the only reason that the panelists at NPI talked so much about the economic inequality. You could say the main reason they talked about it is because it's there. Even middle and upper class white folks face rising rents, falling wages, and increasingly inadequate and shoddy health insurance.
Okay.
Even they are dealing with...
This guy doesn't know what upper class means. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Even they are dealing with ever-rising work hours and the consuming need to increase income to fill the gaps.
Hang on, how does that even work? How can how can the upper class face income inequality? Who's stealing it then? The Martians. How does that even add up? I'm so perplexed by that. How does...
I do
where's
not
that
know.
logic? How... I'm at a loss for words. This motherfucker's like short-circuiting me. Jesus Christ. All right. Well, let's continue.
Yeah. One lesson the left failed to take from the pioneering research of Thomas Piketty et al. Is that, quote, the 99%, unquote, means exactly that. Even white suburbanites are suffering from the restructuring of the economy to benefit the super elite.
We talk about that all the time, you bloody liberal.
Just in case you forgot who was writing.
Yeah.
They're just not suffering nearly as much as poor working people, among whom people of color and immigrants constitute a disproportionately large percentage.
Well, the thing is, also look at this, for instance. I mean, we've been saying this for like centuries. Just look at slavery when they ended slavery, and the slave owners were compensated for every single slave. The slaves weren't just freed; they had their freedom purchased by the government, right? Who paid for that bill? It wasn't the slaves. I mean, they didn't exactly have an income to pay taxes on. No, it was regular working white people, and we make that point all the time. Just as an example, the abolition couldn't have been done in a worse way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it totally fucked over. But a lot of these liberals, unless you talk about middle class white people throughout the entire conversation, because that's what they're used to when liberals discuss issues, then it's just not enough. It's never going to be enough. Unless they dominate the conversation, unless there's like 70% what they want, 30% what everyone else wants, they're always going to say that the left haven't really understood the problem. They're just...
no, absolutely.
It's unbelievable. It is absolutely unbelievable. In fact, some liberals in the UK, because that's really where liberalism finds a massive foothold, because everyone there lives in their own imaginary world, because they're all in an island just millions of miles away from anything relevant that's going on,
yeah.
They'll say things. They'll say things like, well, leftism, the left is kind of responsible for racism these days because they keep talking about it, and that's why it stays around. Okay, and it's like,
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, and all I'm wondering is, okay, what about the first 200 years of racism when no one talked about it? Where for a part of it there wasn't even a left outside of Paris. How does that fit in exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the first 76 years, literally, there was no left. And one could even argue that it started in the 1500s when they first discovered Africa, at which point it's even longer because it's 17, so that's 15, so that's another 200 years. Another 200 years where the left wing did not exist. Who was talking about racism then? Aside from people of color, I'm sure they had a few opinions on it.
Yeah, nobody.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing. People of color don't exist in history. I've noticed that. If you judge the 1500s to be racist, they say, well, you can't be presentist. You don't. back then they didn't know racism existed, even though they invented it and used it to like dominate an entire society, and it was just everything anyone was thinking about. They had no idea that existed. They had no idea you could criticize
It was.
But it's like, what
It
do you
was
think?
conveniently beneficial to them.
But it's like, what do you think? What do you think black people did? They probably had some feedback on racism. You know, they probably had a couple of things to say about it. There's probably some commentary by black people from the 1500s on what racism was like when it first came around. I'm guessing.
Yep.
And just well, you're presentist if you acknowledge that part of reality. Like, come on, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to power through this because it's still a lot.
Yeah. No, it's just it amazes me because I've heard 4 or 5 people talk about it at least, and it's like they're all reading from the same Twitter feed or whatever it is. It's just it's remarkable. If it was just one person, I would have thought, well, okay, that's their argument. But it's just so many, like they're reading it from a script.
Just
like
form an original thought.
Yeah,
people.
it's like talking to a call center sometimes.
Yeah, it really is.
And some people who say it too, they're good friends of mine. They're very intelligent, so that's why it surprises me that even they fall for it. You know, and I blame YouTube for one because it feels like that's what people recite arguments.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's TV now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the white nationalists talked about economic inequality because it really does motivate them, along with the roiling hatred of so many scapegoated groups: African Americans, Latinx. I don't know how to say that.
Wait, Latinx?
Jews. Yeah.
Oh, right. Look, just call them Chicanos or Chicanas. That's what they prefer.
Whatever. Latin people, Jews, Muslims, women. What?
They just say Chicanos. It's simple. That's the brown beret term. It's what they invented. It's what they like to be called. The other stuff is just white people like
Chicano.
Chicano, simple.
Chicano.
Yeah.
Jews, Muslims, women, Asians, queer and trans people.
Yeah.
In others, in discussions of the alt-right, a common error leftist analysts make is to debate whether the movement is primarily motivated by anti-corporate anger or race hatred. No,
What?
we don't do that.
No.
Don't get into it. Everyone listening to this knows why that's wrong.
Yeah, but
hold your tongue.
Look, they tune in to hear me rant about things. That's our appeal.
Yeah, but this is so long. I wish I'd known. I'm sorry. I should have read this first. This is so long. I would have done a whole episode on this.
Why don't we go a bit ahead of schedule? It'll be fun. I mean, not ahead of schedule, beyond schedule. I mean, do you have a train to catch? Is that why?
No, but I just, I don't want to be doing this all day.
Well, okay. Right now we're 5 minutes over time, so you can relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep going here. The unpleasant and dangerous reality is that it's both. So this author right now is saying that corporate greed, anti-corporate anger, and race hatred. No. Yeah, anyway, those are just both of those things are just convenient means to an end for the people pushing this agenda.
Yeah, it's fascism that motivates them. It's privilege. It's the same things that motivate capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they can't see it that way. They cannot see it that way because they will not say this person is on my side of the fence in some small way.
That's
they can't
because
say that.
Well, no, it's not even about that. I'm sure they will. Like if I told a liberal that, well, I mean both the Nazis and you guys believe in the same market economic, you believe in the same economic structure, they would probably say, yeah, that's true, but that's not the issue. They would say that. They would gladly concede that. But what they can't do is contextualize fascism. They think fascism happens in a vacuum. That it's just a bunch of rowdy hillbillies who never went to school, and that's why they're all angry and racist. That's basically what they think happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though every single fucking guy in that freezing barn, it must be fucking the surface of Mercury at this point. Every one of those fuckers is probably some kind of university-educated, middle-class guy who's never even been to the Appalachians. But, that's beside the point, because they got their own little narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before and after the conference's only panel, the audience of young white men and some older ones lined up at an omelet station for a luxurious brunch of liquored fruit salad and scrambled eggs with house-smoked salmon and delicious vegetables. I interviewed that's such a pointless detail. I interviewed a few of them.
They love to write it like a story.
Food. Just
Yeah,
making me more hungry.
that's
I
the
haven't eaten
thing.
yet.
When context have meaning, it's just nowhere to be found. It's just the sound of crickets. But when context is just useless, what's the word? Useless. What's the word? The one preposition. Not is it preposition? I'm thinking of useless preposition. Is that whatever
I
that
don't know.
word I'm thinking of? You all know it. You can read my mind. When it's just useless, insert word here. Then they're experts at it. That's when they know that's exposition. When it's just useless exposition, that's when they're experts at it.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Love that.
nailed that sentence.
I interviewed a few there in one of the vans that took the racists back to Alexandria, Virginia. One, a 28-year-old who called himself, folks, not making this one up, okay, you ready?
There we go.
Antiochus.
What? Wait,
Antiochus.
Oh, is that Orcus? Is it spelled like the sort of etymologized Greek word for ecos? You know, referring to our household / ecology. Is that word?
I don't know. It's Antiochus.
Oh, okay. Wait, Antiochus as in Phil Oaks.
No, just Antiochus.
Okay. I mean, it sounds weird and
It's
made up. I can't
some
really.
Dumb Greek name.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, it's probably it's probably some.
Let's
weird
not labor the
philosopher
point on
who
his
thought it was okay
dumb
to
nerdy name.
throw women into a river. You know, there's so many weirdos in ancient Greece who had like profoundly ridiculous ideas. It's just a fishing pond for crackpots. That's what ancient Greece is.
Maybe they misread him. Maybe he was just trying to get across that women love a good swim.
No, I want everyone to be clear on my position on ancient Greece. It's a fish pond for crackpots. That's all it is. You throw in your pole, you reel it in, and bang, you got yourself a ridiculous worldview that's going to result in millions perishing if you ever get power, because all of them were just backwards, weird, evil despots, except for like 5 people, one of whom lived in a barrel and masturbated in public.
Bunch of perverts.
Yeah. They're all perverts, even the good ones. I mean, all good people are perverts. That's
okay. Yes, perverts. Perverts. I'm a pervert. Said he'd been quote in high school unquote when 9/11 happened, and quote we were all wondering why Iraq or Iraq. Excuse me.
I like
what was.
I like how everyone. I like how 9/11 has such a universal meaning to everyone, no matter how unrelated they are to the event.
Yeah.
You know, if you live in Washington, if you went to high school in Washington when it took place, you know, in fucking New York, you know, you were still. I remember where I was when 9/11 happened. I remember.
Although, the plane did hit the Pentagon. One plane did.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that was a bad example. Like
that wasn't a great example. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Seattle.
Oh, okay. See, I was gonna say Texas, but yeah, Seattle works too, or Florida. But the point is that it's meaningless. It's like I remember where I was when Halley's Comet happened. I was standing beneath it. That's way cool. But I don't brag about it. I don't act like it affected my life. It was just really awesome.
Yeah. Just like 9/11. You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Vince thinks 9/11 was really us.
No, that's no. I'm not Jason. I'm not Jason Uru or whatever. I'm not
Unruh.
Unruh, yeah. I'm not Jason Unruh. But I will say this though. There's been a lot of events where people have died and people have just given zero shits. And I would like to point out that half of the people who died in 9/11 were like stockbrokers. So I would say there's a double standard there. I would say that's like maybe a little bit problematic, but I'm not going to say that I think 9/11 was a good thing. It was terrible.
Yes.
Like all non-stockbrokers who died in that event, I feel really sorry for.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my position.
We were all wondering why Iraq. Yeah. What was the purpose of that war? That war, one of the causes of millennials' dimmed prospects, had been launched by quote Jewish interest unquote. He was sure. His girlfriend, wow.
Wow.
A 26-year-old who said she had, quote, done college online, unquote, told me the greatest source of meaning in her life was to work to preserve the environment, which she said was perfectly compatible with white nationalism. Quote,
I mean, it
I'm not
is,
sure these
I
big...
guess.
Yeah,
I
sure,
mean,
why
they're not
not?
racist to
Quote,
plants.
nope,
I mean,
plants are green.
maybe they like overwater them a bit to make sure that the leaves don't turn brown because that'll really set them off. But other than that,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
got me hopping mad. Quote, the greatest source of meaning in her life was to work to preserve the environment, which she said was perfectly compatible with white nationalism. Quote, I'm sure these big corporations are part of the problem, unquote. She told me. About what she called, quote, little corporations, unquote, the woman, furious over, quote, mass extinctions of animal species, wasn't sure. Quote, I think buying from local sources is the most important thing. Buy from a local farm,
That's
unquote. And
useless. Like
yeah,
what people don't, I want to talk about this. What people don't really get about local sourcing is that the big agribusiness is basically contracted entirely to small local farms, and they're being really fucked
yeah,
over, and they got terrible working conditions, and that reflects on the animals because you just don't have the budget to take care of them, and that's what the
mm-hmm.
whole problem is. Okay, you can't just buy locally sourced and think you'll defeat them. They own the locally sourced food. Everything's fucking local somewhere, for God's sakes. So yeah, I would like
Yeah,
to just say that because people need to stop believing that nonsense. I even hear leftists believing it. They just don't understand the architecture of agribusiness. It's practically a monopoly, for God's sake.
yes.
Yes.
Um, la, 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 la. Hold on. Okay, Antiochus said he'd become, quote, obsessed with human biodiversity. Wah, wah, unquote. He did not make the wah, wah noise. That was me.
Yeah. No.
The fancy progressive sounding term for the old racist notion that there are, as he puts it, quote, obviously subspecies of humans, unquote. Yikes,
Oh.
that's scary.
See, when it said
And
biodiversity, I thought it meant like species not going extinct and like preserving wildlife and the wetlands.
no, human biodiversity.
Okay, I didn't catch that. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. But he's still saying they're humans. So, I mean, that's a paradox. Non-human humans.
And that he fell into the subspecies most intelligent, most ethical, and most deserving of the few spoils left over after neoliberalism had finished wrecking the earth.
Oh God, the white shall inherit the earth.
So he's trying to take his moral judgment and wrap it in pseudoscience. So that's wrong on a lot of levels to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's so mind-boggling because, and it's true that hypothetically, in an alternate universe, black people could have been the ones to figure out the musket and come up with all these sort of weird imperial cultures and kingdoms and have squabbling tribes, have one tribe become a little bit bigger than the other ones and have that sort of influence things over sort of several courses of history and so on. And yeah, sure, black people could have colonized Europe. That could have happened. But the thing is, it hasn't. The biggest genocides in relatively modern history were done by Europeans. So when he says they're the most moral, you can argue that they're potential, like that all individual human beings have the potential to be equally moral. But you can't really say they're collectively the most moral. Collectively, based on their track record in history, they're not the most moral. That's just mathematically demonstrable. For God's sake.
Yes. In our interview, Spencer sketched a similar future vision of white people controlling the spoil. He has claimed in the media that he's, quote, not a fascist, unquote. But in our interview, he finally allowed that, quote, I do have certain elective affinities with the fascist intellectual tradition.
Oh,
wow.
Hey, we spoke in unison.
Unquote. Yeah. In the state he's hoping to create after deporting all Jews and people of color, he said, quote, we will know better for people. We will be a good elite. We will guarantee the health and safety unquote, of whites only.
Like
The author adds.
not even like Stalin was that transparent in his motives.
No. In J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, Saruman is a wizard with seductive powers of persuasion. He delivers hateful, vicious messages to those with whom that method works. Sweet messages of solidarity to those who need a warmer touch. Where he trips up is when his opponent finally finds a way to make his listeners hear both the vile and wheedling parts of his spiel at once.
No,
Spencer is the alt-right.
No, he got dragged into a chasm by a demon. What the fuck is he talking about?
Yep. Spencer is the alt-right Saruman. Often it's most educated sounding, coaxing, flattering voice. A major reason white people join this movement.
He had a flaming whip. There's nothing. What education in what whipology? What the fuck is this guy talking about?
I don't know why this author suddenly is.
Does he know how to read books? Does he? Have he read The Lord of the Rings? Is he sure he just hasn't mistaken the title for another? What is this?
I don't know.
But you see Gandalf. He lost the bait with the weird underground demon at the end of the film. That's why everyone he slipped up.
I only saw half the movie.
Yeah, no, he told Frodo to quit being such an asshole when he should have told Frodo that he can do it and that he believes in him, and thus his fate was sealed. What? What are you talking about? That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense.
A major reason why white people join this movement is because it tells them they are smarter and more worthy than the majority of humanity. But when he thinks no one in the mainstream media is listening, when he thinks that only his quote subhuman enemies unquote,
it's fucking amazing.
Or
the indigo children with concentration camps. That's basically what he's saying.
Pretty much.
Oh my god.
Or his fellow fascist converts can hear. Spencer delivers the bile, shouting the English translation of Sieg Heil to his Nazi saluting followers, which would be Hail Victory, by the way.
All right.
When he thought reporters had left the room, telling the black British journalist Gary Young, quote, "You'll never be an Englishman," unquote, and that, quote, Africans benefited from their experiences of, unquote, slavery.
What?
And using on Twitter anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi terms that are decipherable only to those who are already in the know. Yes?
I don't know why, but when he said they benefited from their experiences during slavery, for some reason I imagined sort of pre-colonial Africa and just some white missionary setting up a little stand, and it's just a big sign saying "Join premised upon.
Yeah. My goodness.
In fact, premised
On the
upon is really
constant.
cool because that's technically not a word, so you'd be a bit like Shakespeare. I say premised
Yeah.
all the time. You know, I basically came up with that word. You know, I feel pretty proud.
Yeah. Fuck this person.
Yeah, you know, it's
Donna
like
Minkowitz.
it reminds me of a Stephen Fry quote that I really like, which is that William Shakespeare practically tabled and chaired the convention of using nouns as verbs. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Here we go. Predicated on constant threat that even those within the magic circle of white malehood, can be tossed out on a moment's notice. Spencer is constantly gay-baited by other white nationalists, Painovich and Klein, viciously trolled by comrades who insist their names mean they are Jews, Painovich and Klein. Another neo-Nazi left the moon because his peers made clear to him that they were not fond of his disabled son. Ooh, funny thing, that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that woman on Twitter. I don't know if you've kept up with it. I think some of the comrades over in the squad mentioned it. Basically, this woman, this alt-right woman, she's left the alt-right now because they kept being sexist to her. So it's really becoming like, you know, sort of neckbeards only. Thank Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. What the left needs to do in this moment of doubt and danger is to put out our vision of care for all, mutual aid for everyone, a true beloved community, a deep and nurturing vision most of us have not mentioned since Trump won. Instead of spending our last breath heaping scorn on our opponents on Twitter, we need to launch a long-term grassroots campaign of education and conversation in the sectors in which white supremacists are organizing. What?
That's just so spooky. We need to educate them. We need to be messianic. No, fuck that shit. You need to fight for what you believe in. You need to fight for your own self-interest. This isn't about turning them around and fixing everything with the great liberal
I think the
public
author.
institutions. It's about.
I think the author meant getting to them first before they get to them.
That's still no. The author meant non-violent bullshit that does nothing. That's what the author meant. I mean, I know you interpret differently because you are of sound mind, but this is not the same individual. That's not the person writing.
Well, I mean, logically, from my experience.
Okay, well,
logically from my experience, the first voice of reason that gets to you is the last voice of reason.
Yeah.
So if that quote unquote voice of reason is the Nazi,
yeah, okay,
yeah.
Well, okay. Let's put it this way. A comrade of ours in the squad. I'm not gonna mention any names and so on because I don't know what he's comfortable with. He used to be a white supremacist and a neo-Nazi. I spoke to him, helped him sort of see things from a different perspective. Now he's a great comrade. He's a wonderful guy, and the thing is that this liberal would not consider me to be someone capable of educating anyone. When they say educating, they mean an institution, preferably one that they run and fund. That's what they mean when they say educating. Yeah. It's another word for indoctrinating, and that's useless. I mean, how is making people liberal gonna stop fascism? How's that? When has that ever worked? Nazi Germany, before it became Nazi Germany, that place was full of liberals. That was full of liberals standing there with the thumbs up their asses, talking about, I don't know what. Same thing in the US. They had all kinds of liberals saying, oh, give Hitler a chance. We should try peace for once. Where were they when the natives were being savaged? Nowhere, that's where. And it's useless. Liberals are like, paper castles. They're pointless. You throw 100 million liberals at one Nazi, barely gonna make a dent. You might as well try to fight them off with fog. Just walk right.
I think this person is a sock them at best.
Maybe. Yeah. No, I feel like
I'm gonna be generous and say I don't hate this person or what they're saying. It's
I
fine.
don't hate this person. I just think they're tedious. All right, like I could,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I like if they were like if our kids went on like play dates and hung out, I might invite them to a birthday if it was like an odd number I was filling, right? But the thing is that I would avoid them throughout the whole thing. I would just say, "Excuse me, I need to check on the hors d'oeuvres." You know, "Excuse me, I need to take the wine out of the cellar." Because in my head, I have a wine cellar, right? But yeah, point is, oh shit, and my Achilles heel is messaging me, namely my mother. You know, that's the thing. A good anarchist always talks to his mother. So I just need to let her know that I'm all right. She hasn't heard from me for a couple
Hmm.
of days, and but that's through Facebook. So I'll just message her while we.
Yep. Hold on. And we need to use what even the right acknowledges are superior skills in organizing to organize, and by our, she refers to the left. Convince, convert, persuade, excite with the vision of a loving mutual society would be like. Yeah, well, people are emotional, they're not rational, so deal with that too. That's it, that's the end.
All right. Well, I reassured my mother that I'm alive and everything. So yeah. Well, that was a good article, and I don't care if it was long. That just means we got a longer episode. People can listen to it. They can have fun. They can enjoy me talking about stuff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Okay, everyone. This has been Bread Squad, new and improved Bread Squad. We got an intro and everything. So yeah. And also, Josh, now would be a good time for you to summarize the sweepstakes once again. Just to
Oh
remind.
yes. I just like to remind everyone that there is going to be the first fake news sweepstakes. The